Good evening. We're ready to begin. This Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2, and our closed caption for our hearing impaired viewers. Please note customers of CenturyLink can view this program in high definition on channel 1002. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Schlotman.
Present.
Vice Chair Cherry.
Here.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Creer. Here. Commissioner Toussaint.
Here.
Commissioner Roush.
Here.
Commissioner DeSalvio.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also on the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate your adhering to these rules so we could have a smooth meeting. And if you need a copy of the agenda, they're on the half walls on the corner of the podium. Moving on to number 4, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Is there any, sir, please come to the mic. And I'm going to ask you to turn that mic on, and if you can give us your name and address for the record. It's on.
My name is Regan Orr. I live at 4016 Nancy Marguerite Lane. I'm requesting item 23 be heard tonight. Ray Godfrey is asking for a 3-foot variance. I'm here with some other residents who would like to get this matter resolved tonight. We were at the July 11th meeting where I presented a petition and some, we all spoke in opposition to this. I guess he has asked for advance. We're asking that it be heard tonight.
Thank you. And I'll refer to staff or the director. Since this was already requested by the applicant to be held in abeyance and the applicant may not be present, I'm not certain if we could actually even hear this item tonight.
Mr. Chair? Perhaps we should go through this during the housekeeping part of the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll discuss this during the housekeeping. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wanting to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close public discussion. Moving on to possible action to approve the final minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of July 11th, 2017. Could we have a motion? Yes, and we'll have abstentions from Commissioner Roush and Commissioner DeSalvio.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to abstain as well because I was not at the meeting last month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have a motion to approve the final minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of July 11, 2017, noting the 3 abstentions.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote.
And Mr. Chair, just for the record, the commissioners, DeSalvio and were not here, or Roush were not present during those meetings, so we've asked them to abstain on those items.
Yes.
Commissioner Roush, could you hit abstain, please?
Thank you, and that motion carries. For possible action, any items the Planning Commission staff and or the applicant wish to be stricken or held in abeyance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted upon at this time. Are there any actions that the Planning Commission would like to have held in abeyance, including the item that the gentleman was talking about earlier? And Mr. Director Summerfield, could you comment on my question earlier?
So, Mr. Chair, an abeyance request is just that. It's an abeyance request. It is a request that the Planning Commission can either grant or not. However, and typically applicants are informed that it is a request and that they should attend. I'm not sure if this applicant is here to be able to speak, so it would be at the Planning Commission's discretion whether or not they hear this item or not, unless the city attorney has any additional guidance related to that.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for you. Point of
Yes, Commissioner
clarification.
Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Although the applicant is not here, couldn't we still allow the residents that are here to speak for public comment on it, and then we can make a determination if we want to take action on it, we can still obey it? But I know that people have somewhat of a hardship of getting down here, and they're here. I would personally still like to hear what they have to say.
Well, if you'd like to pull this item, that is your choice.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What we could do is we could hold this item out, have it heard during its normal course, and then we could relay the information that the citizens have with regard to this item, and if you do vote to obey it, it can be then transferred to that later date.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Mr. Chairman, we have, applicants have requested abeyances for items 18 through 21, 23, and 26 through 28 to the September 12th Planning Commission meeting.
All right. Vice Chair?
Through the chair, we'll have a motion on items number 18 through 21 to be held in abeyance until the September 12th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. Items 26 through 28 to also be held in abeyance to the September 12th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. A motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Moving on to one motion, one vote. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearing, non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing the application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have the item removed from this part of the agenda. Starting with item number 7. Abeyance GPA 70710, applicant owner, UN Investments, LLC, for possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from right-of-way to light industrial research on the north side of Washington Avenue, east of A Street, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Item number 8, abeyance ZON 70712 for possible action on a request for rezone from right-of-way to M Industrial, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Item number 9, VAR 70718 for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an 8-foot tall solid wall in the front yard setback where a maximum of 5 feet with a 2-foot solid base is allowed, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Item 10, SUP 70714 for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a towing impound yard use, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. And finally, item number 11, SDR 70720 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 57,934 square foot towing impound yard expansion with waivers to allow 0-foot wide perimeter landscape buffers where 15 feet is required along rights-of-way and 8 feet is required along interior lot lines, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Number 12, SUP 71018, applicant Casa Don Juan Restaurants, owner MGG LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment to approve special use permit SUP 38865 for a proposed 11,076 square foot expansion of a an existing 7,940 square foot urban lounge use with an outdoor dine-in at 1208 South Main Street, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval.
Excuse me, through you, Mr. Chairman, I apologize for interrupting you, but there was a neighbor that wanted to,
Okay, as soon as I get through reading all this, then
okay, I'm sorry.
I'll open it up.
I just don't want her to miss her open of opportunity, you know how I am. Thank you.
No problem, Commissioner Quinn. Item number 13, SDR 71019, applicant Casadon One Restaurants, owner MGG LLC, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 11,076 square foot expansion of a 7,940 square foot existing restaurant with outdoor dining, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Item number 14, SUP 71072, applicant Louis Contreras Jr., owner Bridge Group Investments LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,400 square foot beer wine cooler on-sale establishment use within an existing restaurant with a 384 square foot distance separation from an existing church where 400 feet is required at 1745 South Rainbow Boulevard, Suite C, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. This is a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard on any of these items, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Commissioner Cherry.
Through the chair quickly.
Vice Chair Cherry.
Through the chair quickly, I will be abstaining from items number 12 and 13. My company has a financial interest with the applicant.
Thank you. Good evening.
Excuse me, Commissioner, Chairman Schlattman, through you.
Commissioner Rausch, please.
Thank you. I just want to disclose that I own properties at 1325 Casino Center and 201 East Utah Avenue, which are within the notification area, but I do not believe this will affect my properties to any greater or lesser effect than any other property in the notification area, and therefore I will be voting on the items.
Thank you. I appreciate that
Thank you.
disclosure. Any other disclosures? Seeing none. Ms. Swink.
Thank you, Chair Schlattman. Heidi Swank, 330 West Washington, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89106. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Preservation Foundation and a resident of the Beverly Green Historic District. We're here to speak on items 12 and 13. We're asking for an abeyance until the owner has a chance to meet with stakeholders and work with us to find a better solution to the proposed expansion. I have a prepared statement I could read now if you'd like.
I would, actually, I'd prefer to just pull this item and then we'll open the public hearing so we could hear from the developers and then, or the owners, applicants, and then hear from you and hear from everybody else that might want to talk, if that's fine with you.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else wanting to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Turn this over to the Planning Commission. Commissioner Quinn, could we get a motion?
Yeah, thank you. On the one motion, one vote items, I make a motion for approval on item number 7, 8, 9, do you want me to read all of them? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14.
Actually, not 13. 13.
I'm sorry,
is
not
gonna be
13. Go it again. Items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 14 for approval on the one motion, one vote.
Thank you. A motion's on the floor for approval of the one motion, one vote items 7 through 11 and 14. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, items 7 through 11 will go to the September 20th City Council meeting. Item 14 is final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on back to item number 12. Mr. Scott, do I need to read these back into the record?
No, you're fine, sir.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and ask for items 12 and 13, which is Casadon One Restaurants. I'm going to go ahead and ask for a staff report, please.
Chairman, the applicant is proposing to expand an existing restaurant and urban lounge located at 1208 South Main Street within 18B, the Las Vegas Arts District. The subject site is an existing 7,940 square foot restaurant and urban lounge that the applicant has proposed to expand by 11,076 square feet. The expansion includes encompassing recently vacated and acquiring property to the south, as well as adding a second story to the existing single-family story building. Once completed, the newly expanded restaurant and urban lounge will be 19,016 square feet. The staff has reviewed the application and is recommending approval of the use permit and the site design review. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Is the applicant present? There's a button at the bottom. It's on now. Oh, you just turned it off. Okay, it's on.
Okay. My name's Oscar O'Keefe, architect. I'm representing the owner of Raul Gill on the project, and
Can we get your address?
2256 Savannah River, Henderson.
Thank you.
So what we're proposing to do here is to demolish the two present buildings, which is the awning buildings. They're cross-hatched here, and we're looking at, let's see if I can bring this plan out. Can we see that?
We can see it.
Okay. So the orange is the new two-story section. The yellow is the existing section that we're going to, it's which used to be the Bell's Bonds. We're going to convert that to a restaurant expansion. The green back here is what used to be the storage yard for the awning facility. It's going to become the patio. Mr. Gill has provided additional parking. He's purchased the parking rights behind the alley, a total of 25 to 27 parking spaces. He's also purchased a lot in the corner of California and Commerce, 2 lots that he plans on putting more additional parking there as well. And I believe that's the main concern here is the parking. So,
Okay.
all right.
If you have no other comments?
Well, the height of the building might be another concern,
Okay.
but we're working presently in lowering the height of the towers. Right now, we have a 55-foot tower in the corner of the project, which we're proposing to lower by 10 feet.
Okay.
So maybe that could help. And that's about it.
All right. If I could ask you to sit in the front row.
Sure.
And I am going to open this up for public discussion. And good evening. If you don't mind, if we can get your name and address for the record one more time.
No problem. Heidi Swank, 330 West Washington, Executive Director of Nevada Preservation and a resident of the Beverly Green Historic District. So I just wanted to start off first. I love Casa Don Juan as much as anyone. I have been a regular at Casa Don Juan for over a decade. This is not about whether or not the owners are good partners on Main Street. I think we all agree that they are very good partners on Main Street. This is about ensuring that we have good planning on Main Street. Planning that maintains a look and feel of what is now a really popular place for locals as far as shopping, dining, and generally hanging out. Main Street is dominated by single-story mid-century buildings, many of which had been adapted to new uses and fit in well with the surrounding buildings. While many may not look at Main Street and think of this as a historic area, we would disagree. As Carol Dyson at the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office wrote, and I'll quote from her, "The preservation of these mid-century commercial downtown buildings is complicated both by their familiarity and their incongruity. These historic resources from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s are often ignored by preservation efforts because they are just too new for many to see them as culturally or historically significant. Further, the sleek lines and smooth facades of post-war construction often contrast sharply with the earlier historic downtown buildings that all preservationists warmly embrace." Following Ms. Dyson, we suggest that Main Street's one-story building, asymmetrical storefronts, and simple but sleek facades are exactly what make this area an important historic resource. And we would like to see the historic integrity of this area continue. We think there is a place for an expansion of Casa Don Juan. We think there's also a place for a second-story expansion of Casa Don Juan. However, the proposed expansion, while in keeping with local ordinances, is not in keeping with the surrounding buildings and will disrupt the local downtown vibe that is currently growing in this area. According to the Vision 2045 plan adopted by the City of Las Vegas, it states, quote, "Districts should have a say in determining what their aesthetic vision for their district is," close quote. So we're asking the Planning Commission to obey this item in order to allow for this conversation to occur. We don't see rooftop dining as incompatible with Main Street. It just needs a bit of an adjustment to work in harmony with its surroundings. And we did post the drawings of the front elevation of this building on several downtown Facebook pages, and there was a lot of discussion over the last 48 hours on the design of this building. I think that the second floor definitely could be pushed back and could maybe not be seen as prominently from the front. I think the towers are definitely problematic, but we would be more than happy to work with the owner to find a way, because I think we would all love to have a cocktail on the roof of Casa Don Juan someday.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to be heard? We do have a couple of microphones, so if anyone else wants to be heard, please come forward at this time. Good evening.
Becky Miller, and I represent Main Street Las Vegas LLC at 1233 South Main Street. And I'm here to say I support Casa Don Juan's expansion. This is a fabulous project. However, I also am extremely concerned about the parking. And I know that they have purchased parking, and I applaud that. I wish to ask the council to review specifically how many spaces the two new lots are going to bring in besides the 25 spaces that they have already acquired, and how many customers that they expect this more than doubling their current customer base is going to bring in. We are already seriously out of parking down there. We have no parking, and that many more people down there will absolutely devastate the smaller businesses that are down there. Also, I do support the review of the elevation. When we refaced our property, which was the entire block on the other side, we were required to keep the mid-century look, even though we didn't want to. We wanted to actually go older into Art Deco, and we were not allowed to do that, specifically for the aesthetic reason. I am not at all opposed to the look of this. I'm just saying that, you know, we should all play by the same rules, and perhaps review with what the historic folks want to consider. But I do support the expansion. This is fabulous. This is a piece of property that really needs to be worked on, and I applaud them.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Seeing no other people that are wanting to talk, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission, starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. To the applicant, please, sir.
And Commissioner Quinn,
Yes.
let me just go ahead and follow our rules of conduct. I'll give you a minute if you'd like.
I apologize.
Any type of rebuttal. No, my fault.
A minute to rebuttal the comments?
Yes.
As far as the architecture goes? Well,
You have 30 seconds to a minute if you have any rebuttals.
I think it's matching the existing conditions pretty well. So.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Quinn.
I have a question for you. With the expansion of 25 to 27 parking spots that you've purchased next door, is that, am I hearing that correctly?
Yes.
You're adding 27. How many of those will be handicap accessible and van accessible?
The handicap accessible are right now at the existing parking lot of Casa de Juan. There's two of them that are facing California. Those other, if you were to make those handicapped, that'd be kind of far for them to go travel. So these are right there.
Right there at the curb?
At the existing parking lot of
Oh, in
Casa
the
de
existing
Juan.
parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. So with a building this size, how many parking spaces are you short? Are you
Quite a few.
quite a few?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Creer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I've been to the restaurant a number of times and, have parked close and I've parked far away and walked to the restaurant. So sort of hit or miss of what you're going to find. And that's probably indicative to downtown in general. Yet, if we are going to do and rebuild a project and enhance it, then we should not shoot ourselves in the foot by not providing adequate parking.
That's why
moving
the corner
forward.
lot is there.
Pardon me?
The one he just purchased, the 2 lots that he just purchased.
Yeah, I understand. So, but it seems as though the opposition thinks that, and maybe there's not, I don't know if there's a right answer. There's an answer that goes within the code, but is there a way to provide even more parking there on that side to satisfy some of the requests of the neighbors?
In the existing site?
Yes.
I know.
Well, the new site.
The new site, yeah, the new 2 lots that he purchased over there in California and Commerce, correct.
But is that,
We haven't designed any parking lot in there.
And have you gone through that with the neighbors? Because they seem to still have
No.
an opposition to
No,
it.
we have not.
You have not?
We have just purchased those lots.
You just purchased them?
Yes.
Okay. So is there, I'd like to speak with the opposition then and see if, now that you know that, would that be copacetic with the neighborhood?
We
have to come
can't
up
have
to the-
any
yeah,
speaking from
yeah.
the audience.
Sorry.
Name and address for the record.
Rebecca Miller, 1233 South Main Street. I would have to confer with all of the other people on that street. I only represent 11 properties, and there are approximately 50 that are concerned about this. Having on-site parking would really help out a lot. The big concern right now that they have is that the employees come and park in our parking spots all around that whole area now, and there's no parking. And so if we more than double the space, and it's awesome. We love having the people come down there, but yes, we do need to discuss parking. It is a huge, huge issue down there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a couple of comments, and then I'll turn it over to Commissioner DeSavio. You know, I know that parking is a big issue in downtown in general, but the automatic application of parking standards in downtown does not apply. Doesn't mean that we don't need to look at parking and what we need to provide. You know, a lot of the businesses are open during the day. Your heavy time, or the heavy time of traffic, would be lunch and dinner for Casa Don Juan. I own a bar in the Arts District. I have 300 parking spaces next to me, and most of the time, my patrons can't even park in my parking lot because they're going to other restaurants or, and not Casa Don Juan, but other restaurants and bars that's open in the area. So, I mean, it's not just a problem for one particular area. I mean, it's a problem for me where I have 300 parking spaces with 178 occupants, and I can't even park my own customers. And it's not just in the Arts District. We're having an issue all throughout downtown. And, you know, with parking enforcement, I know that people hate the parking meters, but the parking meters do keep people and the traffic flowing. So for me, I don't think we'll be able to solve the parking issue. We've been talking about with our city manager's office and also with our former director, Director Perigo, about putting up parking garages in the Arts District and putting them up in downtown. But then we keep going to APA conferences with Mr. Lowenstein and all these fine planners up here, and we keep finding out that here within the next 10 years, we're going to have empty parking garages because we're going to other forms of transportation. So it's kind of one of these chicken and egg type of situations when it comes down to parking. So as far as the building, I do agree with many of the comments that Assemblyperson Swank stated earlier about the height and this and that, and maybe some of the architectural features. However, there are other spaces that Jonathan Kermani built, which are just on the other side of Charleston on Main Street, which have the rooftop decks, and they're a little bit taller than everything else in that neighborhood. And just one block to the east of Casa Don Juan, was a new 3 or 4-story building. So with a new downtown master plan, I think, I don't know if that's going to be a TSEC 2, 3, or TSEC 4, but Mr. Summerfield could probably tell us, but you don't have to. But it's, you know, we're going through this new downtown master plan, and there's going to be some changes and modifications, and I'd like to see y'all get together with the applicant. It is going forward to city council. I'm not saying it's definitely going forward to city council tonight, but I think if it does go forward to city council, because I don't want to leave everything on the planning commission's agenda forever, I'd like for you to meet with the
Absolutely.
applicant and the neighbors and see what they have to say, and see if you can make some modifications to better the project.
We could, definitely.
But our agendas got so long because we obeyed everything for the longest that we're here till 10 o'clock at night, some nights, just, you know, hearing abeyance items. So thank you. Commissioner DeSavio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple questions. You alluded to the elevation one. The one I have is on the agenda, number 12 here. I'm trying to figure out, is this going to turn into 19,000 square feet, or are you adding
Total,
total 19,000 and change? Is what it winds up being?
I believe, yes, sir.
Okay. Also, so how many spots do you have currently right now at the facility that's the
We
only
have
seven?
25 adjacent to the alley, and we have 19 at the existing building.
Okay, thank you.
And like I said, we just purchased the 2 lots in the corner, which we
Does
haven't
that-
designed the parking lot yet.
Do those 2 lots, is that the 25?
Oh,
Is
that's
what-
going to be more than 25. It'll be,
So what will be your overall projected space count?
I'm going to say 50.
50, and that includes the pre-existing?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, if there's no other comments, then I'll look for a motion. Commissioner Greer?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to approve SUP S1018, agenda item number 12, with the condition that you will meet with the neighbors between now and city council meeting.
Would that be a condition or a request?
Well, can we make a condition, or can we make a?
Probably just
request?
making a suggestion, Mr. Commissioner.
I make a strong suggestion that you meet with the neighbors prior to going to city council.
Okay. We'll do it.
And I would recommend getting the assembly persons and the other lady that come up here, their contact information. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, agenda item 13, SDR S1019, I move for approval.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote.
Commissioner Quinn?
Come on, Vicki.
And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 12 and 13 will go forward to City Council on the September 20th City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing items. Relating to items 15, 16, and 17. Abeyance VAR 67949. Applicant owner, Samaritan House, Inc., for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 6 parking spaces where 11 spaces are required at the northeast corner of Adams Avenue and 4th Street, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. Number 16, abeyance VAR 69804 for possible action on a request for a variance to allow the backing of a motor vehicle onto a public street from a parking area where such is not allowed, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. Item number 17, abeyance SDR 67950 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for proposed 3,060 square foot building, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. May we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, these items have been held in abeyance 3 times by the applicant. Since the June 13th Planning Commission hearing, the applicant has revised the site and landscaping plan to add trees in front of the building and to make facade changes on the south and west elevations to give the building more of an office appearance, which is appropriate for the proposed meeting and activity space. Staff remains opposed to the development as proposed, as the site cannot adequately accommodate a building of this size, along with the required number of on-site parking spaces, without need for vehicles to back out into the public right-of-way. The hardship is therefore self-created, and staff recommends denial of all requests.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Chairperson Slotman.
Mr.
and-
Stock, before you start,
I
Commissioner Roush?
apologize. I tried to get it in there quick.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
I just wanted to go on the record to say that in my research on the supporting materials, I see that one of the applicants or the owner of the property is Mr. Russell Swain. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to make it known that I have known Mr. Swain for several years, and at one point, I believe he contributed to my campaign for city council, and our relationship is not a close one, and so I don't believe that my independence in judgment is compromised, and therefore I will be voting on the item, but I wanted to just make sure that I made everyone aware of that.
Thank you for that disclosure. Good evening, Mr. Stock.
Good evening. Good
Name and
evening, Planning Commissioner.
Can we get your name and address?
I'm sorry?
Complete name and address.
Yeah, Arnold Stock, 840 South Rancho Drive, Suite Number 4, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89106. And alongside me here is Ms. Kathy Mason from Samaritan House.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the opportunity this evening. What we have here is Samaritan's House, and I just want to read into the record very briefly, the use and what it's for. Samaritan House's intent is to assemble a steel building that is 3,060 square feet for activities, meetings with 6 parking spaces instead of 11, and 3 spaces that back out onto Adams Avenue. This structure will serve as a 12-step recovery meeting space for the residents of Samaritan House, which is located directly across the street from the parcel. No one will be living on the property as it is intended for meetings, activities only, and will not have any employees or residents on site. This building will be operated and managed by Samaritan House Management. The hours of operation will be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. There are no existing similar uses owned or operated by Samaritan House in their location. There is no required state-specific license for this use. The proposed development is compatible with adjacent development, Samaritan House, and development in the area such as West Care and 2 other recovery homes in the area, one at the end of the block and one behind West Care. Parking is the required is 11 spaces. We provided 6 and 1 handicap space. All structures comply with Americans with Disabilities Act requirements for accessibility and all other access requirements. Exterior lighting, the features are all, the lights are directed down as to not go into the adjoining parcels. There was a neighborhood notice given. There was no one that attended a neighborhood meeting. We have also with us 3 support letters, and what we're asking for this evening is approval of this proposal.
Thank you.
Just as a personal note, Samaritan House is a gem in our city, and is a place of recovery, sobriety. I personally have very close family member and close friends that have recovered there and maintain long-term sobriety. It is a proven and wonderful place in the area. It has nothing to do with our request, but I just wanted to put that on the record of what Samaritan House is. Thank you.
This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Creer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the pleasure to go visit this site, the Samaritan home, as well as to go view the site today. And I want to applaud you once again on trying to improve our ward with a quality, opportunity to really enhance what's going on in our community, especially in Ward 5. As
Thank
I
you.
mentioned, my father was a drug and alcohol rehabilitation specialist doctor. Anytime I have an opportunity to highlight that, I like to take that because I'm very proud of all the work that he's done, and he'd be very proud of the work that you're doing as well. I can't tell you how much I am in favor of this, and I hope my colleagues will support this as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Creer. Commissioner Quinn?
I just want to make a quick comment to our new colleagues this evening on the Planning Commission. Arnold Stock has the reputation, he can take a rock and turn it into something miraculous for the vets, the homeless, the alcoholics, the people that are down and out. And if my feeling always is if Arnold's name is on something, it's going to not only succeed, it's going to be an explosion in our community that will probably spread wider than just this one building. I'm honored to know you. I'm honored to support this item, and I always look forward to your next project because I know it's going to be better for our community, and I thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn. I'll just make a couple of comments. I appreciate you all going back several times, making some changes, and bringing a better site plan and better looking building to us. Vice Chair Cherry.
Thank you, through the chair. Normally, in an application that has cars backing into a right-of-way, it's an automatic no for me, but seeing the hardship with the dead end and the low amount of traffic on the other road there, I think it definitely suffices, and I can get past that easily. And like the chairman said, thank you for revising the site plan. It's a nice site plan. We'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, Commissioner Creer, could we
Mr.
get a
Chair,
motion?
through you, agenda item 15, abeyance VAR 67949. I make a recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Motion for approval is on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item 16, abeyance item VAR 69804. I make a recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item 17, abeyance item SDR 67950. I also make recommendation for approval.
Motion for approval is on the floor. Please cast your vote. Please post. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, all three items, 15, 16, and 17, are final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 22, abeyance VAR 70643, applicant Ray Gravel, owner Barry Schultz, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 5-foot rear yard setback where 10 feet is required for proposed accessory structure, Class 2 garage at 4013 Tyler William Lane, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. May we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this item was held in abeyance from July in order for the applicant to hold a neighborhood meeting. Since this was a voluntary meeting, the staff was not in attendance. Staff finds a requested variance to allow a 5-foot rear yard setback where Title 19 requires a 10-foot rear yard setback to be a self-imposed hardship and is recommending denial of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Ray Grable, 705.
Mr. Grable.
Wendy Street.
Okay. Could you repeat your name? The microphone wasn't on.
Ray Grable, 7055 Wendy Street.
Thank you.
Barry Schultz, 4013 Tyler William Lane. Mr. Chairperson, Commissioners, it's good to be here again with you. Your request at the time, we were requesting that, as I'm asking to build a 2-car garage in our backyard, I'd started this process actually a year and a half ago, going through our art committee, going through our homeowners association, approvals, and there were some questions whether we had full approval. So your recommendation to me at the time was to come back and bring the approval of our homeowners association. I have that here, and I have the original copy, or I've made a copy for you. On the top, it talks about the approval, and the full application is there. The back 2 pages happens to be the neighbor impact form where all of my surrounding neighbors have signed approving that they don't have any challenges with this being put in. And the very back page happens to be 2 other people. When I first started this process, there was 2 in front, 2 on the sides, and 1 in back. And as of March, the people behind us, which is actually a separate development, they moved in March, so they're listed on the back. And next door neighbor, immediate to our north, they just moved in a week ago. So I also have their signatures on that, so this can be for that. And I'll also send this copy of, I just wanted to share a couple things. I brought with me about 5 houses down from my house on the opposite side of the street. This is an approved set of plans from the city, and it's dated 8/16/06. And what I wanted to share on here was all I'm asking for is if by chance this allowance for a 5-foot variance to match what has been existing in our neighborhood. This is a blown-up portion of his garage that he added. And back in 2006, when he submitted the plans, the variance was as little as 3 feet in the back and 3 feet on the side. So I'm asking that if I can have a 5-foot variance. I only have one neighbor that would impact, and that's the one behind us. So as I'm asking for this variance, I'm not asking you to do something that's different in our neighborhood, but to allow me the opportunity to be able to build a garage to match the same structures that are currently existing in our neighborhood. You'll also have the opportunity, as your request was, to try to get with the neighbors. I went and spent last week and had the opportunity to be with Mr. Orr for about an hour, and we chatted, and I heard his concerns with other things in our neighborhood, and I sent an email to the management company of our homeowners association, Thoroughbred Management. They immediately contacted the board of directors, who oversee a lot that goes on. Tonight there's 2 board of directors here that one's prepared to be able to answer any questions you might have. There's also a member of the art committee, that is the architectural committee, to at least talk and verify that the process that I've taken to try to have this garage built in the backyard, that it meets all of the existing parameters that the other neighbors have gone through. And so, other than that, I ask for your approval on that.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. We have plenty of microphones. And to ask everybody to line up so we can get through this as quickly as possible. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm Regan Orr. I'm the gentleman that Barry was talking to last week. We had a nice chat.
Just keep your comments
Barry's
towards me, sir.
Excuse me?
Keep your
Regan
comments
Orr. I
towards
live
me,
at 40,
and if I can get your address as well.
4016 Nancy Marguerite Lane.
Thank you.
There are 2 proposals for garages in our community, and this is the first time where we've had open hearings where people could voice their concerns. I do realize there are other buildings in the community. I don't know how they were built without community involvement. There were no signs in front of the homes. This is the first time Barry's and my neighbor Ray Godfrey, this is the first time that we've been allowed to address the commission, the planning commission, and share our concerns about this. When this first started back at the end of April, I went down to the building and safety department and I asked them for some input about our community, and they stated that the developer's notes back in 1991 stated no add-on construction. He wanted this community to stay small ranchero estates. The setbacks in our community, in our CC&Rs, are 30 on the rear and 10 on the side. Of course, the city is 10 and 10. It violates both of those. I bought 17 years ago, in 2000, in the community. I read the CC&Rs. I had to sign a paper that I had read and understood them. And I liked the fact that our setbacks were 30 and 10 because I figured I was going to have wide open backyards. Well, now we have this situation. All the homeowners, when they buy a home in our community, they have to sign a paper that they received the CC&Rs, they understand the CC&Rs. we all have 3-car garages. We're not garage poor in our community. We have large garages. Barry mentioned to me that, I said, Barry, why do you want this garage? You already have a 3-car garage. He said, well, I need additional storage space. And I shared with him that I had cut an access hole in the middle of my garage and put plywood up there and created a storage area in my 3-car garage. And then he also said that he has a dune buggy. So he wants to have a storage area for his dune buggy. Well, my problem with that is you've had that dune buggy for a long time. So when you went to buy a home in our community, you didn't know that you didn't have enough room in your 3-car garage for it. In other words, north of the North Las Vegas Airport, there are numerous homes that are zoned where you can build add-on construction, or they already have second garages. But you choose to buy in our community, and then you want to change it in to what I consider as urban clutter. I do not have a petition against Barry's proposal, but I do have one against the other gentleman's proposal. And when I went around and got these 24 signatures, everyone that signed my petition shared their concern that we are going to lose our small ranchero community. If we allow Barry to build, there's going to be somebody else building, and pretty soon we're going to wind up with buildings everywhere.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening.
My name's Chet Kohler. I live at 4117 Nancy Marguerite, Las Vegas.
Thank you.
I'm here for two purposes. One as a fellow homeowner, and secondly as the president of the board of directors for the community. Rancho San Miguel is a very small 46-home community, all single story. I am an original homeowner, and I did watch the July meeting that was recorded, and I do believe there were some statements made that may not be accurate. One of the statements was that homes that had additions built, they were in violation of code. Well, the board recognizes, working through thoroughbred management, that not only does NR 116 what we have to apply to, and we have a management company helping us, we also recognize that the city supersedes anything that our community chooses to do. So as respect, we understand that. Maybe in some of the discrepancy that was just quoted of 30 and 10, the original documents, the community was originally designed for lots to be purchased. The developer had an issue with that, and he turned it into tract homes. So some of what you're hearing, the 30-foot, is from the front of the curb of the home, that home can be no closer to the curb than 30 feet. In terms of signs being posted in prior homes that have done it, 5 homes in the community, including myself, have either built garages or garages and casitas, ranging in the square footage range of 700 square feet to one addition over 2,000 square feet. All of those have followed proper protocol. The board does not approve under our planning documents any of these additions. There's an architectural review committee that the board is specifically has to abstain from influencing the architectural review committee. And there will be an art committee member here who's also an original homeowner. So I also know that when the other homes had expansion, they were pre-2011 when the code allowed us to go as low as 3 feet from an adjacent wall. So we do recognize. So the reason that a homeowner may not have seen prior projects being built is because there was no exception being required from the city because the homes were following pre-2011 rules. So I think that's important to know. So again, there are currently 5 homes on there. The board is made up of, I think, very level-headed people. There is a financial planner, a retired banker, and a very active, well-respected attorney in the community. The only reason the board is involved is because of the opposition now. That's when we have to step in. So in my opinion, the continuity to comply with the community is correct. And the other thing that I would say is that when people make statements that they're being videoed here, they should be accurate. So all 5 additions that have occurred in our community were done properly. They did meet city code, and they were all approved. And in terms of a petition that was signed, that's probably beyond the scope of what I should say here. Sometimes people sign things just to have someone get off their doorstep. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Greg Halverson. I also live in the community, 4105 Nancy Marguerite, Las Vegas, and I'm on the Review Design Committee, and they have to turn in their paperwork to us, and we review it. At first, he wanted to put in a big barn-style garage, Barry, and we looked at the design, and it just wouldn't fit our neighborhood, so we had to turn him down on that. So now he's going to a regular garage. Like he said, there's 4 or 5 garages already built in our neighborhood, and you have to conform with the rest of the neighborhoods. It can't be higher than the pitch of the roof. It has to have stucco, same paint job. Everything has to be conformed with the rest of the neighborhood. So we approved it. So Barry is approved on the art committee, and I'm on that art committee.
Thank you. Good evening, ma'am.
Hello. My name is Terry Halverson, 4105 Nancy Marguerite, and I'm currently on the board of directors at Rancho San Miguel, and I have been involved with the neighborhood since it was developed in 92, 93, I believe, and I'm an original homeowner. I just want to speak a couple things that I approve of this project, and the other one, Mr. Godfrey's on our street, due to the fact that we do have 5 homes and several other people who are looking and saving to add on garages and casitas. Everything has been approved by the city, although when Mr. Orr had his petition signed, he did tell untruths and mislead homeowners that they do not, especially ours, was never approved by the city. And we have all of our documents, our, everything right here that was done properly by the city. So unfortunately, a lot of people are misled thinking that the things that have been done in the neighborhood were not done properly, and we follow protocol. Our neighborhood is very unique, like they said, 46 homes. There's nothing unsightly in our neighborhood. We have a lot of pride in it, that it is kept up, and that the value of the homes, usually as soon as a home goes for sale in our neighborhood, it sells quite quickly. So that speaks volumes, not only for several original homeowners still in there, but just how nice the aesthetics of our neighborhoods have stayed. And we would never approve anything that's unsightly.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jared McGrath. I reside at 4000 Nancy Marguerite Lane, Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm in favor of the approval as the plans as it is. The homeowner has signatures of the neighbors who would be impacted, and they're all in approval. The size and design of the building is cohesive with the neighborhood and should cause no issues. The setback and elevation of the lot should help to hide it from the street as well. A lot of a spot in the neighborhood with plans someday of building an extra structure to house toys, tools, or even the occasional family member. And I believe this small adjustment isn't unreasonable. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'll give you 5 seconds if you run up here quickly.
My name again?
Yes.
Terry Halverson, 4105 Nancy Marguerite. Another thing I'd like to make clear is that the original CC&Rs were dated in 2001, and in 1997 they were amended by the neighborhood as we took over the community. We didn't have a property manager. It wasn't required back then.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and ask applicants to come back up. I'll give you just a tiny amount of time if you have any rebuttals.
Barry Schultz, 4013 Tyler William Lanes. The only thing I wanted to add was, like Mr. Orr had mentioned, why did I even move into that place 2 years ago? I have an RV, and I was excited as I drive around this whole development. You drive, I can call 5 different people, and we all have trailers and side-by-sides and four-wheelers, and all of this is behind our gate, in our backyard, and as I'm asking for this variance to be able to push it 5 more feet, it makes it that much less even visible from the front. And that's why I moved into neighborhoods, because it's typically an RV resort where everybody has the opportunity to park RVs there.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to turn this over to the Planning Commission, starting with Commissioner Toussaint.
Mr. Schultz, Mr. Grable, thank you for coming back. I know it's exasperating,
but someone who has had over 20 years' experience with HOAs and architectural review committees, you've done everything properly. You did everything by your bylaws and by your documents and your CCNRs, and you will see my support on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Creer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for you. How come you can't go 10 feet?
I would prefer to not pull out a big tree that has a lot of growth on it, and I would also lose 5 more feet in the front to where aesthetically for my yard, I'm able to utilize more of my yard by not. If I was to try to match what was existing to even go 3, I would like to have 5 because I'd like to have some room behind it. And it would just suit our needs all the way around. I talked to some other people to where I wouldn't even be before you if I was happy with 10 feet. And when I was originally started the idea of even building a garage, I was just totally surprised that that was the requirement. Years ago, I'm used to hearing, 5 feet setbacks typically. And then after the fact that in our neighborhood they used to be 3, and then in 2011 it was changed. With that change, basically, the reason we got absorbed into it was as they decided to make this change, it was to where you could build a 2-story home. So they didn't want that up against the walls. Well, we live in a single-story development. And so that's how I'm asking as to where it seems like it suits everybody's needs if I can push it back 5 feet, especially the back neighbor, they have no problem with it. Anybody in our neighborhood, visually, you would see even less of it by allowing me to go back a little bit.
And the HOA is in compliance, correct?
Yes.
The Design Review Committee is in compliance, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The Architecture Review Committee is in compliance. And but you feel it would be a hardship on you that if you were to push it 10 feet?
I would really like to be able to have what the other people in the neighborhood have.
So the other people in the neighborhood have not come in front of this commission, I'm assuming you're saying? Did they get approval from this commission?
Well, what it is they, like with the statement where Mr. Ord recommended, this is the first time that any boards have been set up, because back before 2011, when other homeowners were applying for garages or the structures that they were going to build, it wasn't required for a variance because it was automatically at, the city had already set the boundaries off the rear and side wall was as little as 3 feet. And that's where the prints that I brought here, the plans I brought, his side wall is 3 feet. He had approval to go 3 feet to the back. He actually brought it out a little bit. I think he has about 5 feet from his back. But his side wall is actually 3 feet. Off of my sides, I'm about 72 feet from one side and about 15 feet from the other side.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Roush?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Mr. Summerfield, could I have you or staff please address the concern of, I think, both the Planning Commission and the applicant and the audience in terms of when did the rules change, why did they change, and why are we having this discrepancy right now? Because I'm trying to catch up and figure out what we're talking about here.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. In 2011, we adopted the Unified Development Code. At that time, the accessory structure section of the code for residential properties was amended from a 3-foot side and rear yard setback and 6-foot separation from a primary dwelling to 10-foot separations from the rear and side property line on larger properties, because there was additional opportunity for accessory structures to be larger in scope and taller in scope, and in relation to those abilities to go up and be larger, the additional setback would mitigate the impact of adjacent properties, and that was the trade-off when it was adopted as part of the Unified Development Code.
Thank you, Mr. Lowenstein. Commissioner Roush?
One additional question. I noticed the applicant is Ray Grable, the owner is Barry Schultz.
Yeah.
You're Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
And you're Mr. Grable?
Yes.
Are you a tenant in the property?
No, I own the property. Mr. Grable is the representative from Tough Shed, will be building the garage.
Okay.
And he's the one who did the application.
I did the application.
Okay. I'm brand new. This is my first day, but I'm sensitive to the fact that there are residents here that are in support of it, residents that are against it. I'm sensitive to CC&R issues. I'm sensitive to rules because we enact them for a reason. And I understand that there's obviously a precedent prior to the 2011 case, but the law does exist for a reason, and I have to support that. Unfortunately, you're coming to us after 2011. When did you purchase your property?
2 years ago. If I can add one thing, Mr. Orr, and I appreciate him bringing it up, openly admitted that he's not against my request. He has another issue with a neighbor directly with him.
And I understand that, and let me just say that we have to make a decision based on whether or not there's an unusual hardship or whether the hardship is personally inflicted, and you yourself admitted that the hardship is personally inflicted. You don't want to have to tear down a tree, and I'm a lover of trees and shade, and I agree with you on that as well. I hate to see trees torn down, but you're the one that's choosing to build this structure and impinge upon your neighbors, quiet enjoyment and encroach on their property and their views and their privacy as well. These rules are for everyone's enjoyment. People buy into neighborhoods because they know that that's where the goalpost is and it's not supposed to move. So if we choose to ignore this and you don't have an exceptional hardship that we can define, then we really don't have any rules to enforce in the future. So that's kind of my position, and I don't think I'll be able to support this today. I apologize.
No, I appreciate that. One
Okay,
other thing, too, is
sir, unless if somebody is asking you a question, please don't address us. Vice Chair?
Through the chair, I feel like you've gone through the process. You've asked what this commission, what we asked you to do. You've met with your neighbors. You've received signatures from all the neighbors around you. You've received the Homeowners Association Art Committee approval. So I feel like you've done everything you can do to, in the right fashion. It's my understanding, too, with the art committees, that typically upon completion, that the Homeowners Association signs off on that as well, that it is in conformance with the look that was put forward, so it doesn't stand out from the house. So I feel like you've done everything right in this application. I will also be supporting the application.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'll just make one quick comment. Last month, I was really opposed to this, but now seeing that the Architectural Committee, I serve on an Architectural Committee and 2 Architectural Committees and 2 boards, and typically if it's something that the community or the architectural community and the HOA feels that's appropriate for their neighborhood, then I would go along with it. I do understand that the code changed. If the HOA said that you could build it 0 feet from the wall, but the code's never been 0 feet from the wall, I wouldn't be supporting it. But this is something that changed with the Unified Development Code, so for those reasons, I think I could support it. If there's, Commissioner Quinn?
Just thank you through you. I also saw you last month, and I believe that when you come back with the Architectural Committee approving your plans, in my opinion, it supersedes the code, and that's what we're here to do, is to differentiate what's right and what's wrong. But when you have your committee here that's in favor of something you're doing, you're matching the stucco, it's all good. So you'll see my support tonight. I want to thank you for bringing it around and making it right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn. Commissioner Creer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion if there's no more discussion from the board.
Please do.
And with my peers, because you've got the HOA approval and the approval of the Architectural Association Review Board, I am in support of this. So item 22, abeyance item VAR 70643, I move for approval.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item 23, abeyance
Nope,
item. Do we need to, we haven't read that one in yet, have we?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Director?
Sorry. Mr. Chair, that is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For item number 23, abeyance, I'm going to hear this for an abeyance, and then we'll consider if we're going to hear it as an abeyance item or not. Item number 23, abeyance VAR 71002, applicant owner Ray W. Godfrey, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 3-foot side yard and rear yard setback where 10 feet is required for a proposed accessory structure Class 2 casita garage at 4100 Nancy Marguerite Lane, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends denial. Can we have a staff report?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to permit a proposed casita garage that does not meet the minimum setback requirements set forth in Title 19. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary hardship to justify the request has been presented, and staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Thank you.
Thank you. The applicant's actually out in town this week, but I'm going to go ahead and open this up for a public hearing to determine if we're going to hold this in abeyance or not. So if anyone would like to come forward and state their recommendation of why we should hold this in abeyance or why this should be heard, please come forward. And this is not necessarily about all the merits of the project. It's just...
Mr. Chairman, I believe the applicant's letter indicated he was out of town, he or she was out of town, so you can make a determination whether to hear the protests and the oppositions and the people that are for it, and then they can carry it forward to another meeting, or you could vote it up or down. It's your choice.
Okay.
My name is Regan Orr. I'm back up here at 4016 Nancy Marguerite Lane. I'm here with two of my fellow residents. Steve Richards owns a business. It's difficult for him to get down here. And Marilyn Heisel has a husband who's ill. It's difficult for her to get down here as well. We were here on the 11th. We voiced our oppositions to Ray Godfrey's proposal. And we were hoping to get this matter resolved tonight. I had everything ready to go. And then, like I said, Barry came by, I think it was last Thursday, and said, well, there's going to be an abeyance. I was shocked. I want to get this thing heard and get it completed.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good evening, ma'am.
Marilyn Heisel, 5105 Missy Marie Lane. If Mr. Godfrey was so interested in this, why didn't he show up for the meeting? He got one abeyance. It's very difficult for me to get here. My husband is disabled. I can't leave him alone. But I'm interested in my community and the good of our whole community. The building that he is proposing is huge and ugly and doesn't fit the aesthetics of our neighborhood at all. And I really am against it.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Stephen Richards, 4013 Nancy Marguerite Lane. I just did a quick check. House that Ray lives in is 1,940 square feet. He's proposing to put a 950 square foot garage next to it. That's almost half the size of his existing structure. A little bit too big and a little bit too close. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
Now, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So we're just deciding whether you're going to hear it or not right now.
We're just taking people's comments on whether they feel that we should hold this in abeyance or not.
Okay.
And we're going to turn this over.
Because I have a lot more.
Well, if we actually hear it, then we'll let you say a lot more.
Well, can I just mention one thing? I did submit this last time I was in, but, you know, these are 24, this is a petition of 24 people in the community. This business that I lied to people or something, that's not true. I told them that it had been approved by the Architectural Committee and then allowed to go before the Planning Commission, which I didn't understand how that could be. But these people all are against Ray's garage proposal.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Chet Kohler, 4117 Nancy Marguerite, Las Vegas. Again, here is the president of the board of Rancho San Miguel. We did know that the said homeowner, Ray Godfrey, would be out of town. It was a vacation he had scheduled over a year in advance. He did ask me to share information if it did come up tonight, so that's why I'm here. The structure that he's proposing is a little over 900 square feet. Of the other 5 homeowners who have done so, one...
So are you in support of
I am in support,
abeyance?
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I am in support.
That's all we're trying to figure out right now.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing that should be noted, that there could be considered a special need. Part of that is a casita where he's moving his elderly mom into who needs care. And
Thank you.
I've met her. But thank you.
This is just in regards to should it be held in abeyance or not.
Okay. My name is Greg Halverson. I live at 4105 Nancy Marguerite Lane, Las Vegas. And Ray is across the street from me. And he does have a hardship on one, he's got the wall and a pool on one side, so he doesn't have much room to put it. So he needs to go that 3 feet. From the back, he is doing the 10 feet. So there's no variance to the back.
Okay, so do you...
I support him, yes.
You support having this held in abeyance, or?
No, advance?
We're voting.
Yes, okay, yes.
Okay, thank you. We're trying to figure out if we're going to hold this tonight or not hold it tonight.
I got
so
it.
that's all I want to hear about.
Right. Jared McGrath, 4000 Nancy Marguerite Lane, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89130, and I support the abeyance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Terry Halverson, 4105 Nancy Marguerite, and I am supportive of the abeyance tonight.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission, starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. Sir, if you could, please. Did you say that on Thursday of last week you knew of this abeyance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's when Barry came over and told me.
Okay, so Thursday, today's Tuesday, so with no disrespect to you, and we all appreciate you coming down here, Thursday is ample time to have this held in abeyance, in my opinion.
To have what?
Because he knew since Thursday. So my opinion will be to hold this in abeyance due to the fact that that they've had it since Thursday. It's not like they just got it today at 5. You know what I mean, Chairman? Thank
I
you.
don't understand what you just said.
No. I mean, we already closed the public comment, so I'm not sure.
I thought you wanted to talk to me.
I thought she did too, and I apologize about that. And
that gave me Friday to try to find out what was going on and call down to the city.
I understand, sir. I appreciate it.
I mean,
and I can, I'll make the comment. I can understand the
well,
position.
and you guys are closed
Sir,
on Friday. The city's
please,
closed, so.
please. I can appreciate you coming down here tonight because there are several applications in your neighborhood, and for you to have to come down month after month after month, and I can understand that's the reason why you don't want to have this thing held in abeyance. But I am not going to make any further comments on this. I'm going to turn this over to Vice Chair Cherry.
Thank you. Through the chair, I look in the backup and I see that July 19th, the applicant requested to have this held in abeyance because he will be out of town. So I feel like he's given us ample notice for a good cause. So I will be supporting, and I'm prepared to make a motion if there is any further discussion.
Commissioner Crew would like to make
you.
a comment. Good microphone, please.
Hold on. There we go. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Through you, agenda item 23, I'd like to make a recommendation for abeyance until our meeting next month, VAR 71002.
And that would be the September 12th, 2017 Planning
September
Commission.
12th, yes, thank you.
Motion's on the floor. Motion for approval of abeyance. And that motion carries. That will be heard September 12th, 2017. Moving on to related items 24 and 25. Abeyance SUP 70769. Applicant owner 824 South Decatur LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a hotel residence use at 824 South Decatur Boulevard, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends denial.
Approve it.
I thought there was a correction on that. Staff recommends approval. Item number 25, abeyance SDR 70770 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a 6-story, 133-room hotel residence with a waiver to allow a building with no changes in wall plane, color, material, or relief. Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this item was also held in abeyance in order to hold a neighborhood meeting. The neighborhood meeting was scheduled for August 2nd, 2017, and staff was not in attendance since the meeting was voluntary. The applicant is proposing to construct a 6-story, 133-room residence hotel within the Las Vegas redevelopment area. The redevelopment of the subject site will enhance the Decatur Boulevard corridor and is adequately buffered from the existing multifamily development to the west. Staff is recommending approval of this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Didier Eck, D-I-D-I-E-R. I live in 2607 South Berry Drive in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioner. My name is Angelo Farrugia. I live in 2621 Creston Avenue, Los Angeles.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So basically, we just want the approval from the committee for our project. We, did the neighborhood meeting, didn't seem to have any complaints from the neighborhood. We just, asking for approval.
If I can add a little point, it is not a hotel because the minimum night required to start is 1 week. In fact, the goal after a study that we had is to really try to offer to the people who come to live, to work here on a short term, is to have a real living and not just a choice between a hotel and go to restaurant after restaurant, but be able to have a 1 bedroom, not too expensive, and stay there with a kitchen and a full living inside, even if it's 1 week, 1 month, or 6 months, or 8 months a year. So, and really we try to reach, I don't know how we call it really in English, but we call middle class workers. So it could be from a worker in a restaurant to a nurse to a doctor who just arrived, or even a student. So this is what we try to touch, the people we try to touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Starting with Commissioner Crew.
Thank you. Sirs, I have a couple of questions for you. One, you have your financing in place for the facility, and what do you think your average daily rates are going to be? This is a hotel. It's a limited stay, limited resources hotel, right? So
yes, it's a kind of a I would call it a short-term apartment living, and it would be between 300 to 400 a week. That's the study we have to stay there with all accommodation inside, electricity, water, everything.
I kind of have a question for the board, hoping for discussion. How do you ensure that this doesn't become a short-term apartment that is a little bit unsullied, sullied, I should say, sullied. That's something that we do not want in our community. How do we ensure that as this board moves forward? And I'm not sure, how do you ensure that? Maybe I'll start with you to ask you that.
That was the main concern of when we had the neighborhood meeting. That was the first question we've been asked.
I bet it was.
If it was going to be, a hooker place or a hooker hotel. Yeah. The only way we can ensure right now is that we put a lot of work in this building to be LEED Platinum with, all the different green roof, solar panel. I think if we wanted to do a hooker place, I think we wouldn't want to go as far, into the research, and we're going to be the first LEED Platinum building in Las Vegas.
Okay, and what's the total cost of the project?
It's about $10 million.
$10 million.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, may I just add one thing to his
Please,
answer,
Commissioner
because it was a very
Quinn.
big concern of mine.
Yes.
I would, if this is approved, I will be putting a condition on it that no one will be able to check in prior to 8 o'clock in the morning or past 8 p.m. at night, and I think that would alleviate the late night fiascos that this neighborhood is anticipating. And also in due diligence, this applicant did do his neighborhood meeting, and that went kind of well. But I asked him the exact same question, and I guess, I think the hours would help, and I think maybe staff could help me construct a couple more conditions that would also ensure it, or give me more ideas. Commissioner Roush, I think you'd be very good at this. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Roush.
I think that the concern is well-founded. I looked at the postcards that came back from the neighborhood, and although, do we have anybody here tonight to speak? from the neighborhood? Nobody showed up tonight. We rely on both because some people can't get here, obviously. And there were two in support. One lived in Spanish Trail, so I assume that was her rental home, and that maybe is something she thinks is going to affect her value positively. The other one was in Huntington Beach. The rest of the neighborhood that actually lives there opposes this. So my question to you is, when you met with the neighborhood, what did you offer to do for them in terms of limiting the access to this property in a way where it would be recycling and cycling people in a bad way for the neighborhood?
So we first told them that the whole property will be enclosed with regarding with the fire department recommendation. So a 4-foot solid wall and then a 4-foot fence wall. And in front, we could have a gate only open when, a card or an access.
Can staff show what is being proposed so far, and then maybe the applicant can speak to what he's talking about changing? Because I don't remember seeing that in the supporting materials. Oh, hey, there's a rendering I haven't seen before. That's cool. I like that. So so talk to me again about the ingress and egress, because when I drove by the site today, I saw, only access from Decatur. There's no other roads, correct? It's a landlocked site. You can only get in and out from Decatur, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So here we will have a fence in the front. So this is Decatur. This is the original Charlie's parking lot. So we'll have an 8-foot, so 4-foot solid wall and 4-foot fence on top of it. And in front, we could totally agree on putting an 8-foot fence with an access closed, only opened if you have access, if you live in the hotel. And then the only access to the hotel is in the front door.
My main question was not to limit access on the Decatur side. I think that my concern was more in line with when you had your neighborhood meeting. Was that something that came out with the residents, that they were concerned about access along Decatur?
They were totally concerned about that, and they told us, what about, security system inside, because they were telling us that we were gonna, have people sleeping in the parking lot or, deteriorating our facilities. And we told them if we had to go for a security system with security personnel inside the property, we'll do it.
Right.
We're not, we're trying, we're going to reach LEED Platinum. We're putting all our effort in this particular project. We don't want it to be, torn down to pieces after a year or two.
Right, right. Are you from Las Vegas?
No, I'm from Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Are you from Las Vegas?
From Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. So no offense to the neighborhood when you speak with them, but they've been dealing with quite a bit there for many, many years, as Commissioner Quinn knows. And so one of the things that they're sensitive to is that they are constantly getting barraged with, police activity and other things that are happening in the neighborhood. So I think that the burden is going to be on you and who you think your customer is going to be, and if you're going to continue to operate this, or if you're going to get your approvals and then flip it to somebody else. And I think that that's where Commissioner Quinn and Commissioner Creer are coming from when they say we'd like to see some sort of support from staff in the way we make this motion, because this could potentially be final action. And if that's the case, then we need to make sure that there's some teeth in what we approve today, so that it doesn't turn into one of these daily, weekly, hourly scenarios. You understand, right?
Yes, we understand totally. This is why we met with Commissioner Quinn today, and she offered 1 year, I don't know how you call that, 1 year administrative.
I made a few suggestions through you, Director.
Yes, Commissioner Quinn.
Yeah, my friend. My suggestion number 1 was, of course, the hours of operation, to check in by 8 in the morning and not be able to check out after 8 p.m., just to ensure that influx of late night. That was just one suggestion, because they didn't come with this stuff to me today, as you know. My other suggestion was the fence, to go 4 feet up with block wall around the entire perimeter of the property, adding 4 feet of wrought iron for the fire code to ensure that they can see in. My other suggestion was, would be a condition as well, automatic lock gates in the front that can only be accessed by the people that are staying there. The other suggestion I had was about the, this is crazy, but I told them they needed a dog walk, because everybody's going to, if they bring their dogs there, they're going to be pooping all over the parking lot. So I suggested that. I suggested a few things. I don't think this project is 100% bad. I think it has a lot of, qualities for this area, because what we're facing downtown is the medical office district. I mean, we're going to have doctors, we're going to have, people coming in teaching, and they might not want to stay on the Strip or be able to afford the Strip. This would be the closest thing to the medical office district that our councilwoman has worked so hard on, that isn't a Siegel Suites or isn't a hotel or isn't this. This applicant is assuring me that it's going to be a step above all that, and no signage, none of that stuff. So I just kind of helped them today add some things that I just don't think they were thinking about. So I wanted your guys' opinion, and I look forward to hearing them. Thank you.
Commissioner Quinn, I just want to make a couple of comments because, and I have a question for you. Were you talking about card access to get into the complex or into the actual physical building?
Both.
Okay. The only thing that I would ask you to think about is if it was a, and believe me, I've stayed in a lot of places where you have to have a card to get in. I stayed at one in San Diego this past weekend to get into the building. The problem is the backing up of traffic and hotel guests coming in to stay. I'm concerned that that could cause some issues with backing up traffic onto Decatur before they get their access card. And so, and then also, I just ask you to consider the check-in no later than 8 p.m. Because I booked my trip to San Diego this weekend, and I got there at 7:30. By the time I finally found the place and actually got in, it was about 8:15. So sometimes stuff happens, and I would just ask you to reconsider the hours that they can check in. But I'll leave it up to you. I think Commissioner Roush had a couple more comments.
I just want to say I think that you did a great job on your renderings. I especially like the one that you are depicting right now that wasn't in our original materials, so that makes me feel a lot better about the quality and the LEED certification that you're talking about. I see now how you're demonstrating that. I'm very sensitive to Commissioner Quinn's concerns. This is an area that really needs redevelopment, and I know she is very supportive of the redevelopment part of it, and I am too. And I think that Chairman Schlotman is, and probably the whole Planning Commission. To try to constrain your business practices is difficult, and I don't know that we even can do that. I don't know if staff can give us a guideline on that or not. Do we have the ability to put those types of requirements on the applicant? I don't know. This is my first meeting, so I'm just asking.
We actually do. However, we don't want to make it too burdensome
Right.
to where the business can't operate. So,
Mr. Summerfield or Mr. Lowenstein, do we have any precedent or any track record in the operation of other hotels in the city where we have been trying to curb some of this hourly activity, or have we just not attempted that yet?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as this is a discretionary review, you have the ability to place hours of operation restrictions on the special use permit for the hotel residents. And as far as specific design requirements that the commission may be looking for on this, you can place those on the site development plan review as part of the discretionary review.
thank you, Mr. Lowenstein. Commissioner Roush.
I think that what I would do is I'm going to defer the motion to Commissioner Quinn, as this is in her area, but my recommendation would be that maybe we take a look at either 11 o'clock or midnight, because this is a residential neighborhood that it abuts, and maybe we do our residents a favor by saying we don't want to see people checking in, at very late hours, and we don't want to have a lot of people coming and going from the property, and then maybe that limits some of the unsalient activity that we're trying to prohibit. But again, I'll defer to my fellow Commissioner Quinn to decide what she wants to do there.
Vice Chair Cherry.
Through the chair, I have a couple questions. Is it a different, this is for staff, with this SUP, is it a different application for a weekly, monthly type use as opposed to a hotel use?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we have a hotel, motel, and other use which deals with a daily, has minimum requirements of the maximum length of stay. A hotel residence actually allows for longer periods of stay than an actual hotel or motel would, and that's what they are applying for.
Thank you. And is that something that gets audited through business licensing?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, that's correct. It's part of the operations in the license category that they will formally acquire when they go through the licensing process. We'll have the operational requirements for the length of stays that they're providing.
Thank you. And also, being an SUP, the commission has the ability to pull, let's say, 6 months into it, if there was a host of issues at this property, does it have the ability to pull the SUP back to this commission to discuss it?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the commission has the ability to place a required review on the application. If it's administrative and they fail to meet the administrative, it will come back to the planning commission, or if the commission deems it fit to bring it right back to a public hearing at the planning commission, they could do so. If at that time the required review is denied, the next process would be a revocation process of the land use entitlement, which would be a subsequent public hearing item.
Thank you. And with that, I think that's where, and I can't say I disagree with Commissioner Quinn's concerns and Commissioner Rausch's concerns, but I see a project that's a new construction project that is going to be a significant cost to build. Yes. That'll correlate to an ADR that's, you know, a higher than average. I would, in my opinion, would feel that's coming there. And it seems to me that if this does go forward with an approval, it would be nice to have that ability to have the administrative review or a review in a year if there are issues that come forward, and then we could address it at that time. I just feel like we're looking at something that fits the box land use wise. Obviously, the concern with the neighbors, but I think if this is to be built, and knowing what it takes to build this, that those concerns will be quailed. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Toussaint.
Well, I think it's very difficult. This is a sticky wicket because we all want downtown to thrive. And putting restrictions on hours sometimes can be difficult. We've all driven from California to Las Vegas and got stuck in traffic, and it took me 12 hours one time to get from LA to Las Vegas. So I think that we have to be very careful of what we do, because would you have late check-in? I know in a hotel you have late check-in. And if we restrict your hours and someone calls you and I'm on 15 and I haven't hit state line yet and it's already 8 o'clock, are you going to turn these people down?
Usually, if I can answer, the idea was not to have a hotel where people can just knock at the door and be there. This is why the concern of the signage was not important. We not really care about the signage. It's more the word of mouth of the process. So for us, the people who will come over there, they plan in advance because they will stay minimum a week. They don't have the choice to stay 1 night, 2 nights, or 3 nights. The minimum is 1 week or more. So those are people who know that there is a place over there that they can live correctly when they work daily, and not just go to a hotel and have to find a way to live at night and and be just at the same place of a tourist. So this is why actually we were kind of thrown off by, we didn't expect that concern. It was more the opposite. This, in fact, for us is an advantage if you come every week to check for the rest of the life of the building, because it's a concept that we want to build everywhere with a green living, a high-end living who doesn't cost the price of a high-end. That's what we try to show, and where people can feel at home. So effectively, we didn't expect the concern of the hooker, we call it like that, because that was the night of the neighborhood. Everybody came with a hooker, so it's interesting to think about that. And we didn't expect that. So we open to really that you come to check, because we want that you are our porte-parole of this living. We designed that for the past 12 years. It's a family thought and business. I was a doctor before, and we quit to design not only that, but to design a way to live with LEED Platinum by Essence. And we believe, for example, that you can live really good. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be a regular cost. So this is why. And then when we came here, we discovered that there is this little niche who is a kind of a problem and interesting in Las Vegas, is that you have a lot of, how can I call that, seasonal worker who have a regular salary, but is not long. They can have a contract of 3 months. They can have a contract of 10 days, and then they have to leave.
Thank
but
you.
they don't want
Thank
to be
you.
treated just as a...
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I can talk for 10 hours.
Commissioner Toussaint, did you have additional questions,
Me?
comments?
I have one other question. Where's the picture of your sign for this project?
Okay, I didn't thought we were going to put a sign. I thought it would be a small, our name is a part of the, I'm the designer of all that project.
Well, how
So,
the heck are people going to know what it is?
Okay, I thought we have the name, and then we were expecting at our advertisement doing his own word of mouth. This is the way we
What?
used to work so far, and if we...
Okay, now you lost me. So this building that's going to have 133 units is not going to have a sign on it telling people where they're going, because this is going to be a word of mouth?
No, it's going to be a small sign who say the name and say what it is, but not advertisement from the street to welcome and come to see what you can have or come to take a night over here. So this is why we were thinking about a whole software organization where the people are, they say they would like to, they are going to work in Las Vegas for the next 3 months, so they would like to have an apartment for 3 months and go to live nicely in a place. So it will be a small, like an advertisement on the name of the place and what it is, but that's it.
I know, but with no disrespect to you, you
No,
can
sorry.
tell me what it's going to look like, but I have no idea. I can't, approve it from here, and I'm
okay.
curious.
So-
You're going to have to come back for the sign, you understand that, right? You can't
Yes.
just build it and put it
No,
up
I
there.
agree, we agree that.
So that will be in place before you open and everything, right?
Oh,
When you
yes,
come
yes,
back
yes.
here?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, because usually we see the sign. Okay, well, anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Cedric,
No.
why?
I think we've all said enough.
You really do? Okay.
Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
From Public Works. Just wanted to make a couple of comments relative to, the possible gating and the walls on Decatur. There is a requirement, condition number 13 requires a traffic study, so we don't really need to talk about the gating tonight. We can review it as part of the required traffic study. Most likely, they won't be able to gate right at Decatur because, they need to be able to come completely off the right-of-way and have enough queue length for the average amount of vehicles that are going to be on there at a given time. So that can be covered on the traffic study. And as far as the walls at the front, we need to accommodate site visibility triangles. So that's something that will happen when the construction drawings get reviewed. But I just wanted to make the commission aware that those things will happen as the project gets further into detail.
Thank you.
Construction.
So it sounds like we don't need to commission or condition any type of gate because they'll be reviewing that during the traffic study.
Thank you, Lucian. You always know what you're talking about. I don't know why we didn't go to you in the first place. Okay, well, let's get going with this then. Okay, regarding abeyance item number 24, special use permit 70769, I am going to make the motion this evening for approval with the following conditions read by my dear friend Peter.
Mr. Chairman, I just need clarification on what the hours are for the check-in.
8 to 10 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little concerned about that, just given the fact that I don't know how we're going to enforce that. When people come to the hotel and rooms are ready, they'll just check in. So I'm not sure from a code enforcement perspective how we would ever enforce those particular hours of operation.
Maybe we could try.
Through
Mr.
you,
Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, that can be put as, if the condition is on the SUP, it can also be put on the business license. And so through other actions, we can enforce under the business license those operational requirements. So if that is the will of this commission, we can include any condition that's put on the SUP to be placed on the license as well when they come for business license and enforce that as a part of the licensing requirements.
Commissioner DeSalvio had wanted to make one comment if you don't
Absolutely.
mind, Commissioner Quinn.
So what happens to somebody who's maybe got off work late or showed up late? Are they going to be denied access if it's past the 8 or 10 or 11 o'clock that gets set? I mean,
Well, the issue
overtime's
is,
going to be plentiful in this town here shortly, and I'm just concerned that, somebody's going to be locked out.
Well, if you've already checked in, you can go to your room, right? But if you haven't checked in, you're going to have to go somewhere else, because it's my opinion that if we don't put hours on this, on the business license, it could turn into exactly what we don't want, which is a hotel for unsightly evening situations. So I say if we don't cut it off at 10 p.m. and they come there too late, you know, go next door to Arizona Charlie's and check in and come back in the morning. I have to protect my ward. You know, and by putting a time frame on it, I feel that I'm doing everything I can to protect that environment from engaging into this neighborhood. I'm hoping it's the medical district. I'm hoping it's doctors that get off at 7 that know that they've got to check in by 8. And, you know, let's face it, we have to try, or I have to deny the entire project, because otherwise I'm too nervous that it's going to become an unsightly property in my councilwoman's ward. That is not what she wants.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Just a quick suggestion, and I seek the applicant's response on this. It is the 21st century. Most of us go on the internet to find hotel rooms. We can check in online, right? So maybe there's a way for you to utilize, you know, the technology of Hotels.com and others, and ways for them to check in while they're on the road, or if they know they're going to be late, they can at least let you know they can check in. You can be in compliance with your business license, but not have walk-ins, not have people that can just walk in off the street after a certain hour and get a room.
There won't be walk-ins. I know that because there is a whole...
You don't live here, just kidding.
Sorry. There won't be walk-ins because the way the program, we are setting up the program to work, it will be really someone who is planning to organize a living over there. So it's not, again, it's not a surpriser. Sorry.
I don't mean to cut you off again, but unless the specific questions asked of you.
Okay.
Mr. or Commissioner Quinn, would you like to ask Mr. Lowenstein to help you formulate some sort of conditions?
Yes, Mr. Lowenstein, ready.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. On the special use permit, there shall be no check-in service before the hours of 8 a.m. and after 10 p.m. And in addition to that, a one-year administrative required review shall be conducted from the date of issuance of the business license.
Yeah, that's it.
That's on the special use permit. When a motion on the site development review, if you want me to address walls, I can do so at that time. Signage is not part of the review of the site development review.
Well, okay, thank you. So my motion then, with these two added conditions, the time, the administrative review is for approval.
And I'd like to ask the applicant, do you agree to those added conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Please post. That motion carries. Commissioner Quinn, item 25.
Thank you. Regarding item 25, abeyance SDR 70770, my motion is for approval, adding the following conditions.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant should provide a solid screen wall in conformance with Title 19 along the west and south property lines, as well as a perimeter wall composed of a 4-foot solid and 4-foot wrought iron along the northern property line, and a minimum and a minimum of 10 feet back of the eastern property line.
Thank you. And I'd like to add to this area, there will be no signage on the building itself, you know, temporary signage. There will be no signage on the fence itself, and there will be no signage of those people like waving things around on the street. You know how they do it at other places, Peter? We won't mention their names, but you know.
Mr. Lowenstein.
So for clarification, this is only in regards to temporary signage?
No temporary signage ever.
All right, so be that straightforward, say temporary signage shall be prohibited on the site?
That's right. You agree with that? We
I
did
agree
today.
with that.
Okay, so my motion then with those following added conditions is for approval on that item 25.
Do you agree with all the added conditions on the SDR?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. Motion's for approval, subject to the added and modified conditions. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 24 and 25 will go forward to City Council at the September 20th City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Item 29, ZON 71106, applicant owner Janice Whitney and Martha Almanza for possible action on a request for a rezoning from R1 single-family residential to PO professional office at 1320 South Maryland Parkway, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. And related to item 30, SDR 71108 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for the conversion of a single-family residence to a 910-square-foot office building with waivers to allow zero-foot landscape buffer along the south property line where 8 feet is required, and a 0-foot landscape buffer along the east property line where 15 feet is required, and a 3-foot landscape buffer along the north and west property lines where 8 feet is required. Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. If we can get the staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed conversion is in an area of the city that is already planned for small lot conversions from single-family residential to office uses. Rezoning to professional office is appropriate as the lot is located along a major arterial street. The request is consistent with the general plan and continues the pattern of transitional development from residential to commercial uses along Maryland Parkway. Staff therefore recommends approval of the rezoning. However, there are several issues with the site and the landscape plans as proposed. Due to the existing RTC bus stop in front of the property, both ingress and egress is from the single existing pan-style driveway, and circulation is one way around the lot, such that the required south and east landscape buffers cannot be installed, and buffers on the other sides must be reduced. The site cannot support a trash enclosure, and the narrow landscape buffers preclude the provision of landscape materials adequate for screening from the adjacent residential properties. Staff therefore recommends denial of the site development plan review. Note that there were additional protests received after publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yes, hi, my name is Janice Whitney. I'm one of the property owners of 1320 Maryland Parkway. We're just requesting a rezoning for the property. We just have a concern because the property is so small and it's almost impossible to meet all the requirements that the city is requesting as far as the landscaping and everything. We're trying to comply with everything that they're asking as far as the parking space and how since we have 2 residents on the side, it's very difficult to share the driveways. So we're going to have to cut 3 feet of the property in order to do the whole, and the entering the property and exiting the property. So we're just here trying to request to see if it's possible to waive some of those specifications.
Thank you. Did you have any comments, sir?
No, that's fine.
Okay. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Starting with myself, I'll say that Maryland Parkway is starting to turn into professional office all the way down from, Oakey, Franklin, and pretty much all the way up to Charleston is nothing but attorneys' offices and everything else. So I see it as compatible. There's only a few residential properties left on the entire block, so I don't have any heartburn over this. Vice Chair, did you have any comments?
No, I through the chair, I stand in the same way and understand the hardship of the application, so I will be supporting it.
There's no, just Commissioner Creer.
One question, Mr. Chair. I agree with you, but what kind of business is this?
It's going to be a multi-service, taxes, income taxes, a multi-service.
So you're going to lease space in there, or are you the proprietors of the business?
Yes, I'm one of them. The 2 owners are, and we have...
I apologize. I didn't hear you. Maybe move the mic a little bit closer to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just myself and the other property owner were the ones that prepared the taxes. And we have a receptionist, and that's pretty much what we have.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Quinn?
You ready for motion?
Sure. And I just want to make one comment.
Sure.
Let's not, have a repeat of Eastern Avenue with neon signs and, the 20-foot Godzillas run flapping through the air and, the flamboyant colors and stuff and illegal signage. And let's keep Maryland Parkway looking clean and professional like it is.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. That's one of the reasons we chose to purchase a property there, because it's more serious, corridor, Maryland Parkway. And that's how we want to be seen as more professional
Thank you.
business.
Commissioner Quinn?
Did you want to add a condition to that?
No, I drive by there all the time. I
Okay,
can
you got
turn
your
them
eyes
into the
on,
city.
he's got his eyes on you. Regarding item zoning 1106, number 29, the motion is this evening for approval.
The motion carries. Commissioner Quinn, item number 30.
Regarding item number 30, SDR 71108, the motion is for approval.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Please post. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, both items 29 and 30 will go forward to the City Council meeting of September 20th, 2017.
Thank you. Moving on to...
Thank you. Appreciate your help, I guess.
No problem. Moving on to item 31, ZON 71071, applicant owner Delapina Trajo Family Trust for possible action on a request for a rezoning from RE Residential Estates to R1 Single Family Residential at 1703 North Michael Way, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the subject site is developed with an existing single-family dwelling. The purpose for the request is to provide the ability to subdivide the parcel to create an additional single-family lot. The request is consistent with the existing general plan land use designation and is appropriate in an area of predominantly low-density R1 zone properties. It should be noted that a 10-foot drainage easement is located along the northern portion of the site and will limit future development in that area. Staff therefore recommends approval, and please note that there was an additional protest received after publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Gary Carlson, architect, 6440 Bristol Way, and I have Mr. Trujillo here, the owner of the property. This lot is a double-wide lot in the center of this block of Michael Way. All other lots are R1, and he would like to build a private residence and divide this property. The storm drain easement that was mentioned in the staff report is a 1970s abandoned storm sewer. Last year, an improvement project was done by the city to capture stormwater from the west and take it to Vegas. So now the pipe on his property has been abandoned. We will more than likely have to just remove it for construction. This private residence would be similar to all of the residences along the street. It's the only lot that is vacant in the center of the street. It happens to be city when all the other lots are county, so we don't understand that situation, but we're happy to meet any requirements by the commission.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission and for discussion, starting with Commissioner Creer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So I have a question for you. So you want to go from a residential estate to R1. You're going to build 2 homes on one lot?
Right now, the lot is RE.
Right.
And in order to build a second residence, they need to be R1.
So you say that all the lots are R1, but all the lots on Michael Way to the north and to the south are RE. They're all residential estates on that street. So this would be the only house that's facing Michael Way that would be resident, that would be R1.
I don't think that's the case. I think R1 is all
I'm looking at the
lots.
map. I'm not sure if you have access to the map that
I
has
don't
the
have
zoning
access
area.
to the map here, no.
Yeah, and all of the homes on Michael Way are RE, residential estates.
If you look closely, all the lots are a certain size for single residences. This particular lot is a double wide lot.
Well, okay, but I'm looking at to the north, RE, 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 going all the way up to whatever. Then if you go down to the south, up to Vegas Drive, they're all RE. Now, if you cross the street, they are residential 1, but this would be the only house on Michael Way that would be zoned residential 1. And you'd have 2 homes on one lot.
These are all
The lot is a double wide lot.
Right.
Compared to all the other lots on the street.
or single.
It's twice the width as the rest of the lots.
If Commissioner Creer, can I ask for a little clarification from staff. The RE destination is shown on this map, and I see what Commissioner Kerr is talking about. However, the areas that have the gray hash marks, those don't have any coloring due to the fact of that being in the county. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And if the county, the smaller lots to the north in the county, would you have any kind of idea what the zoning would be? I mean, would that be compatible with what we call R1 or compatible with what we call a RE? And if you don't know the answer, you could just say you don't know the answer.
Just have to refer to the staff report. It should be mentioned on the subject property, what's surrounding it. 1 second.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kerr, if you had any other questions while they're looking that up.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. Chair. Thank you for asking that. So, I live in an RE area, and, I wouldn't want someone to come in and take one of my RE lots and turn it and put 2 homes on there. It seems like you're infringing upon the initial intent. I drive in that area all the time in Michael Way. That is in my ward, obviously. I'm on Michael Way often, and I think that the homes are meant to be residential estate homes, and I don't know, I can't see myself supporting something that's going to change that to put 2 homes on 1 lot. That is the intent for it to be residential estate.
When this home would be built on this lot, it would appear...
It's 2 homes.
Yeah, that's correct. We're talking about a new a proposal for a new residence. If it is built, it would be exactly in the same placement as all the other residences along Michael Way. The distance between homes would be the same. This is a vacant half of a double-wide lot.
I understand that, but, I have an 1.5 acre lot that I live on. So to say that you're going to take my 1.5 acre lot and put 2 other homes on it doesn't mean that it's necessarily vacant. You're going to just add density to that lot, but that's a part of the lot. It's not vacant. You just haven't developed it.
Actually, could you turn your microphone back on? There you go.
I didn't do anything. Okay. The finished product here would look like it was a regular house along the street with all the other houses at the same distances between each. So it's not encumbering any other residence.
I'm going to reserve my time for right now. Thank you.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Mr. Chairman, the surrounding properties are RE designated in Clark County. The current Title 30 requirements on those are 18,000 square foot lots, but they do have the ability, adjacent to arterials, to go down to 16,500. These lots have been in existence for quite some time. Some of the construction dates are from 1962, so some of these lots may actually be substandard to the current Title 30 requirements and be smaller in size.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Through the chair, question for Public Works. Can you talk on the drainage easement that's there and what the applicant would have to do for that?
Sure, through the chair. The last I understood with the conversations I had with our flood control section was that there was a storm drain there. So this information tonight is kind of new to me. What would happen is when they came in to divide the lot, they'd have to come with a parcel map, an administrative parcel map that would show 2 lots. At that point, we would, if there is an easement there, because we haven't been able to verify the existence of a legal easement, we would verify the existence of a legal easement, and if needed, they'd have to come back for a vacation to vacate that easement. If it is, as he says, that the storm drain was, and the flood control is fixed, that it doesn't go through there anymore, then they would just have to probably just abandon it in place, crush it, or fill it with concrete. Or when they do their construction, they'll be at the housing when they go to build that residential unit on the second lot. But first, they'd have to do the parcel map.
Great, thank you. And with that, looking at that it is a double lot and what's immediate to the north on how those lots are subdivided and seeing the R1 across the street, I can support this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Toussaint, and somebody's breathing the microphone pretty loud, if that is, if you can turn your
What
microphone
size are the
off.
homes that you're building on these two lots?
It's commensurate with the other sizes, 1,200-something square feet.
So each home would be 1,200 square feet?
That's right, and most homes along that property, the street, are about the same size.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give us just a minute, thank you.
Never mind. We have met with Public Works about the drainage easement, and that's how we found the improvement project that took care of the
I'm ready for,
abandoned pipe.
make a motion, Mr. Chair. If
Commissioner
you're
Kerr.
so inclined, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Agenda item 31ZON 71071, I go along with staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, that item will go forward to City Council on the September 20th, 2017 agenda.
Thank you. And seeing how it's 8 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and give the city clerks and the city staff a 10-minute break, and we'll be right back. I would go through, but I don't know. Some of these items look like it might take just a few minutes to get through, so we'll be back after a short recess. Good evening. This Plan Commission hearing is called to order. Starting with item 32, VAR 71044, applicant Rodolfo Gonzalez, the owner of the law office of Rodolfo Gonzalez LTD, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 72-foot residential adjacency setback where 102 feet is the minimum setback required, and to allow a trash receptacle 19 feet from a residential parcel where 50 feet is the minimum separation distance required for a proposed office development at 877 Northeastern Avenue, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Related item 33, VAC 71045, for possible action on a request for a petition to vacate an existing 20-foot wide public sewer easement, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. And then related item 34, SDR 71046, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 4,690 square foot office development with waivers to allow 0-foot wide landscape buffers along the east and south perimeter where 8 feet is required. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to vacate a public sewer easement that is no longer necessary. Staff supports this request and is recommending approval of the petition to vacate only. The associated variance and site development plan review demonstrate the applicant's attempt to overbuild the subject site, evidenced by the need for a residential adjacency variance for both the building and the trash enclosure, as well as the requested waivers and exceptions of the landscape buffer widths and the required landscaping materials. Staff is recommending denial of the requested variance and site development plan review. Please note additional letters of support have been received since publication, and if approved, staff would like to amend condition number 3 of item number 34 to state, all development shall be in conformance with the site plan and landscape plan, date stamped 6/20/17, and building elevations, date stamped 7/6/17, except as amended by conditions herein. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Rodolfo Gonzalez, 11590 Rosovino Street, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'd like also to introduce my law partner, Edgar Flores, and the architect, Michael Crow. I guess they'll make their introductions when they're talking. So what we're asking the commission to do is approve our project. This is not something that we're asking the commission to do that hasn't been done before. On 6/28/2001, this commission approved a 12,247 square foot project, and then again on March 15, 2016, a 20,038 square foot building was already approved on the same location. We chose this location for 2 reasons. First, it's because that's primarily where our client base resides, and the second reason is we sincerely believe that our project will revitalize the Eastern Corridor. Now, and when talking about our client base, I'd like to get into a little bit of history of the law firm. I started this law firm in 2013 by myself with a $2,000 loan. I got some donations from Family for Used Furniture. Immediately, I started realizing that there was a huge necessity for a Spanish-speaking attorney in Las Vegas. I soon teamed up with my law partner, Edgar Flores, and our law office has just increased so much with clients, and that's because Las Vegas is severely underrepresented with Spanish-speaking attorneys. And when I mean Spanish-speaking, I'm not talking about the kind of Spanish you learn in college. I'm talking about the Spanish where you understand the emotions that the client is expressing, you understand their demeanor, you understand the slang, you really get a feel for what they're trying to get across. And it's important. It's important to really cater to these clients, and particularly in that area. The Las Vegas Economic and Urban Development has stated that the research has found that 61% of people in that area are Latino who speak Spanish, and 38.4 only have a ninth grade education. So when you get those factors and you realize that these people need some sort of legal assistance, the translation really gets lost.
Sir, do you have any comments on the actual project, about what we're actually approving?
Sure. So, well, what do you mean about?
You want to talk about the landscape, and do you want to talk about the
Well, I guess I'll
setbacks
defer
or
to the architect for that then.
Okay, thank you. Not to cut you off, I just
Sure.
want to make sure we stay on
I get it,
what
I
we're
get
here
it.
to talk about. Good evening.
Crow, I live at 5215.
1 second, okay.
There. Michael Crow, I live at 5215 Somerset Drive, 89120, Las Vegas. I want to talk about the design issues for this project. And I know that many of you are new commission members. I want you to know I'm the executive architect of this building. I want you to know that I have worked for the city for 25 years. I believe in the city development, and I believe this project should go forward and is designed properly, not because of what I've done, but because of the teaming that has taken place here and how I've gotten to know these people as we programmed the project. They will increase the corridor and they will help develop the neighborhood. Now, there are a few issues that I know we need to address, and they are variance 71044, the setback, variance 71045, the zero landscape, and then the 19-foot for the trash enclosure. May I use this
Please do.
camera? And you'll have to tell me if I should work it facing you or me.
That's
Upside down.
upside down.
There we go.
There you go. Perfect.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say, as an architect, I knew that the city needed to develop in an orderly manner. I knew that this corridor was going to develop in the future with two-story, so on, and mostly commercial properties along it. And so we're in a neighborhood of transition, just as the city is, let's say, on South 3rd Street, where we just did the RMCM building at 700 South 3rd. With that, we set both these buildings back, the 20-foot setback, which is very, very appropriate for a transitional neighborhood. You don't want to put a building right up on the corner and try to say we're downtown. The second thing that we were concerned about is we needed to meet all of the concerns and the planning issues that to us are very important. 16 spaces are required for parking. We provide 16 spaces. We needed to provide a truly commercial front for the intersection that would guide the development of the future intersection. We needed to complete the intersection because that corner on that intersection has not been completed, and that is caused by the roadway to the south, which was eliminated previous to this owner. So they needed 4,600 square feet because their building, or their practice is growing exponentially. I have programmed this project listening to these people interview their clients. They are genuine and they are very busy. So we came up with, we needed 4,600 square feet. This is a small lot. It's only 136 feet wide. Because of that, we designed the building on the north-south axis, even though it presented a problem with west frontage for the sun. However, we solved that with another issue, with another solution that we could talk about later. When we did that, we were able to provide 16 stalls, which I believe are absolutely necessary for this project to serve the city well. The compromise is this. Just as the Jones corridor is transitioning ahead of this one, and the downtown 3rd Street or whatever are transitioning from residences to commercial properties, we needed to go to two-story. Now, I have one other drawing which will explain the situation exactly. And that's correct, right there. Well, there we go. Okay. The dark perimeter line is the existing building with the proper setback, which is 25 feet from the curb, 20 feet behind the sidewalk. The parking lot dimension which is left is 73 feet, I beg your pardon. And that is room just enough to put a sidewalk by the building, a tiny planter by the building, 2 rows for parking, and a 24-foot drive aisle. It's complicated by the fact that the property fence between the east property currently is within this owner's property by 3 feet. We felt that it would be best to leave the wall where it is. It is, I believe, a retaining wall. It's a considerable cost to do so. But also, the backyard of the neighbor, they have known this for years. There's no reason to make a change. If the dashed line shows that if we moved the building out to 5 feet to the eastern curb, we could just meet the setback of 102 feet. So the compromise in our minds is that we build a 2-story building. We have it set back from the street properly. We're providing the parking. And the one requirement that is really needed is the variance on the distance from the residences in a transitional neighborhood on a site which this has already been taken care of by precedents. Now, there's 2 other issues. The trash enclosure. I believe very much in the city's requirements of covering trash enclosures and having them enclosed. We are dealing with a law office. We're going to deal with a lot of paper waste, which is probably going to be shredded. We are not dealing with a lot of garbage. This is not a restaurant. This is not anything of that sort. It is a professional law office. So there probably will be no smell, no developing odors. And secondly, we wanted to make sure that this trash enclosure is off of the thoroughfare of Washington and Eastern. Consequently, on this small site, the only place we had legitimately to put it is right here, where trash comes in off Washington. I would like to point out one other issue, too. Eastern Avenue is an extremely busy street. It was not practical, in my mind, for us to have egress on Eastern at all. So we went to Washington, which is a avenue, but not nearly as busy. We talked to Public Works, we talked to the professional engineers, and felt this was the best way to develop this lot. Now, I want to close by saying we left out 3 or 4 trees on Eastern. I'm glad to put them back in now. We are happy to put them in. The reason they were left out is that easement, or that sewer, was a public sewer. We have worked out with Public Works that, as was previously mentioned by staff, the easement goes away, it becomes a private sewer, and the risk for the sewer this firm will take, this owner will take. So we are happy to add those trees back. Thank you. Oh, all right.
Thank you.
And Rodolfo likes this building, so I will show this off. It's very nice, and I like it too. This is the future for this corridor. This will cause other developers to want to increase development on Eastern Avenue and perhaps on the corner at Washington. Thank you. We honestly request approval, and we'd love to have final approval if it's possible.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. Edgar Flores, 737 Weatherstone Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89110. I wanted to briefly just add one remark to the issue with the trash bin, and that is because of what we deal with and how confidential a lot of the information is, we have to contract a third-party independent business that comes in and they bring in their own bins and they dispose of most of the waste themselves. We don't even utilize what's on site. We have to have somebody come in and do that properly, and that's just for confidentiality purposes. So most of that trash isn't even staying there. You have somebody coming in twice a week to take that out. And then in regards to the size, I know a comment that might be is just to make this smaller. We can't make this law office any smaller. The needs in the community are so high that we need an office that can accommodate that. Unfortunately, on Eastern, it's become a storefront for a lot of predatory businesses that don't offer real legal professional services. That is the very reason why we want to build in this exact corner. We want to make sure that we bring professional services to the community. That is one of the reasons why so often members of our community become victims of fraud. It's because we don't have actual attorneys who are near their homes. So that's why it's so important that we work in this corner. It's been vacant for too long. We're very passionate about this project, and we'll do whatever we have to do. But we promise you, we hired an expert who we think understands this community better than anybody else when it comes to the architectural world. And we try to do this as perfect as possible with the limitations we had. I urge your support.
Thank you.
Use Opportunity Village.
This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Yes, Commissioner Des.
The question I have too as well is the trash enclosure. Even though you're going to have a third-party person, a second-party person coming to pick that up, they're still going to wind up backing out into traffic. And I don't know if this council, or does it when it goes to the actual planning, if they're going to raise that concern with that trash enclosure.
Thank you. I guess, Lucian, would you mind commenting?
Sure, through you,
on the trash
Mr. Chairman. You know, we haven't really looked at that as far as the trash. When it comes to trash, they come at different times of the day, you know, different buildings. It could work out that they come at an off-peak time and they can maneuver on-site and end up turning, you know, several turns and make it into going forward and out into Washington. So it is possible for them to do that, but we haven't asked them to look at that or anything like that.
Thank you. Commissioner Roush?
My comment was similar, but a little more specific. You mentioned that you have specialized vendors who remove most of your paper waste, I'm assuming because it's confidential, maybe a shredding company. I know a lot of these agencies shred on site. I guess I would just want to make the condition that you're not doing it during hours that would be bad for the neighbors. I'm looking at the photos, and you've got neighbors to the east of you that are very residential in nature. Obviously, single-family homes, we don't want to be waking people up at all hours of the day and night.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the Commissioner, Edgar Flores, 737 Weatherstone Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89110. We as a business don't want them coming in during business hours. Anybody who does anything like that has to come in after 6 p.m. when nobody's there.
No, but my concern is the neighborhood. I don't want them coming in the middle of the night or at 5 a.m. to pick up trash. I know we can't control Republic Services' schedule, but understandably, they're picking up that neighbor's trash at the same time, too. I'm more concerned about the noise that they'll be making in the back of the office building there. And I was just curious if you had decided to locate that dumpster in that exact location for a hardship reason, or if there was just no place else on the site that you could put it. Can you put it closer to the street? It seems that if the trucks are going to come all the way into the property that deep, it's going to be affecting more neighbors that way than if it were closer to the street, but maybe there's no other place to put it.
I'll address that if you'd like. You're absolutely correct. By setting the trash enclosure into the lot, it causes a circulation problem. However, I've been thinking about it that if you look, is the map on? Okay, the camera on?
Yes.
Thank you. Wait, I'll wait till it pops. There we go. I was looking at this radius right here. This is a loading zone. And I think I can manipulate it so that a truck can back up twice and get out. And I know I have to go through that battle with the powers that be, with the big blue trucks, okay? I don't want them to back out. But it was placed there because of a hardship, and that is the narrowness of the lot and wanting to provide 16 stalls. The only place left, perhaps, is along the northern boundary near Washington, which has two things that might happen. One, it might encroach into the required view corridors along Washington Avenue at the intersection of Eastern. And two, it could become very unsightly. But I'm aware of that one weakness, and I will work on it, I promise.
Vice Chair.
Through the chair, I'm involved in a project for the last 11 years. Starting out, we had to work with Republic Services to actually back up from the street, and then so they can pull out properly. And we haven't had an incident, and it works well, and they put us on a schedule that gets us on a good time frame that it doesn't really interfere with the neighborhood and is sensitive to how they pull out. And I feel that you guys could do the same thing, and then just what you'd mentioned as far as the additional things. So I feel like you guys have put together a thoughtful site plan, and it's very considerate, so I will be supporting the application.
It's in my ward, and I like it. I think that corner needs something like this, and I'm ready for you to go ahead and make a motion.
Through the chair, on item number 32, VAR 71044, make a motion for approval.
Thank you. A motion is on the floor for approval. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Item number 33, VAC 71045, make a motion for approval.
Motion is on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries. Item 34.
Item number 34, SDR 71046, make a motion for approval subject to all staff conditions.
Mr. Chairman, as amended, does that one have a condition?
As amended.
As amended.
On the SDR had a condition number 3 was amended for date stamp correction.
As amended with the stamp correction, correct.
Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 32, 33, and 34 are final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to item 35, VAR 71093, applicant owner, First Thai Laotian Presbyterian Church, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 15-foot front yard setback where 50 feet is required at the northwest corner of Smoke Ranch Road and Michael Way, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Item 36, SUP 71094, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed church house of worship use, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. And item 37, SDR 71095, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for proposed 17,210 square foot church house of worship with waivers to allow a 5-foot landscape buffer along the east perimeter and a 6-foot landscape buffer along the south perimeter where 15 feet is required. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to construct a one-story, 29-foot tall, 17,200 square foot church on the subject site. A variance was requested for the front setback in the RE zoning district, but by reducing the setback, the building will meet the residential adjacency standards and be oriented to the street frontages, which is appropriate for this type of development. The church use can be conducted in a manner that is compatible with the surrounding land use, and staff is recommending approval of all applications. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. David Dwyer, Dwyer Engineering, 7310 Smoke Ranch Road, Suite E, Las Vegas, 89128. We have read all the comments, and we are in agreement with the conditions.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. If there's no discussion, can we get a motion? Commissioner Creer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item 35, VAR 71093, I move for approval.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item 36, SUP S1094, I move for approval.
Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Agenda item 37, SDR 71095, I move for approval.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your votes. Commissioner? And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 35, 36, and 37 will move forward to the City Council on September 20th, 2017.
Thank you. Moving on to item 38, VAR 71070, applicant owner William H. and Carol E. Stoddard Family Trust for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 5-foot side yard and 7-foot rear yard setback where 10 feet is required for a proposed 2,000 square foot accessory structure Class 2 garage at 404 Lacey Lane, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to construct an accessory structure in the rear yard of the subject site that does not meet the minimum setback requirements. As no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented to substantiate the request, staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Please note that there are additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm attorney William Stoddard Jr. I'm actually the son of the applicant. My address is 801 South Rancho Drive, Suite D4, Las Vegas, Nevada 89106. I'm joined here with architect and designer Gary Carlson, who designed the project and who's also here to address the matter.
All right. Thank you.
As can be seen, the application is essentially for approval of an accessory structure. This would be a garage in my parents' backyard. The lot is approximately a half acre, and so there is a space in the back that, you know, they've been wanting to put a garage since they moved into the property in 1990. The setback waiver is to put to go within 5 feet of the neighbor's line on the south and within 7 feet where 10 feet is required on the west. Now, with regard to the south property owner, that's Mr. Jay Lean. He's been sitting with me for the last couple of hours. He had to leave, but he's very much in favor of this project. He left a written letter that I can certainly leave with the record if you would like. My understanding is my parents have been very proactive. They've been out to meet with the neighbors. They've wanted to address any concerns that were had. My understanding is that all of the neighbors have been very much in approval. My parents have met with Lois Tarkanian, who has also expressed that she's in favor of this project. The design of the garage is intended to be architecturally consistent with the design of the home, and I think that Mr. Carlson has done a really good job. This is not like some of the other garages that you see that's just kind of a barn style. It has similar pitches in the roof, and the idea is that my parents would like to be able to not only park a couple of cars in there, but also have sort of a workshop area. To address the hardship question, if they don't have the setback waiver, they're going to have to move the entire thing 5 feet farther to the north. In order to back, and I've got this site plan with me here, in order to back out of the garage, they would have to back out, and if this whole thing is moved to the north, it's going to be difficult to be able to back out and turn up the driveway where they'll be able to exit the home. In other words, they would have to back out approximately 150 feet to the street, which is very dangerous. They've got grandkids, my children, and I certainly wouldn't want to see that. And so while it's true that, you know, this could be moved to the north, it certainly would be a hardship and would change the design of that part of the landscaping and the rear side of the house. Like I say, the neighbors do not object. Mr. Lean, who would be the neighbor most directly affected, has been here, wanted to be here to express his approval. I think that they've been great neighbors. They've been in this home since 1990. They'd like to stay here long-term, and this is certainly their long-term plan. I don't know if Mr. Carlson has anything else to add.
Just a comment or two. The picture you see on the camera here is a street view.
Could we get your name and address?
Excuse me. Gary Carlson, 6440 Bristol Way.
Thank you.
This is a street view. Mr. started to mention that we're going to match the detailing of the house, so even going as far as brick veneer that we have on the house, the same roof pitch, the same roof tile, siding, colors. And you can see here in the back basically what the roof line would be from the street. So it's pretty back there, fairly far, not intrusive, and it matches the house.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, turn this over to the Planning Commission, starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Do any of my commissioners have a comment, because I'm ready to make a motion? This is such a great neighborhood. I live right at Rancho and Alta, and what's happening in this neighborhood is people are coming back or they're staying forever. And the nice thing about your project is you're matching the brick, you're matching the house. I mean, how can you go wrong? These pieces of property are big enough to sustain something like that, and it's my pleasure to make a motion this evening for approval on variance item 71070. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Sir, did you say you had a letter of support you wanted to include in the backup?
I would.
Okay.
Just because he took the time to write it, I'd like to have it included.
Thank you. Please, please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item 39, VAR 71077, applicant owner, Himawari 2 LLC, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an 8-foot tall solid screen wall where a maximum height of 5 feet with a 2-foot solid base is allowed, and a 4-foot retaining wall where a height of 2 feet in the front yard setback area is allowed at the northwest corner of El Parque Avenue and Cimarron Road, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to construct a wall that does not meet the requirements of Title 19. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary hardship to justify the request has been presented, and staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Please note that there is an additional letter of support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Nick Bugby, 8635 West Sahara Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Scott Bugby. We are the general contractors on this project. We are developing this site for our client, and they would like a little more privacy, a little more security on Cimarron from Charleston to Sahara. There's 8-foot tall walls going down that whole area, and we'd like to follow that. We're currently doing a 4-foot wall in the front with a nice landscape barrier, a lot of trees to hide that 8-foot wall behind it. Showing some of the neighbors' pictures in the sites, you can see that most of the neighbors in that area have 8-foot or taller walls at their front entrance. So we're asking for a motion of approval.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone want to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm close the public hearing and start with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bugby, the gate itself, will that be wrought iron, or be able to see through where the fence itself will not? Is that correct?
No, the actual entrance to the property will be on El Parque, which is to the south of it.
Okay.
So that is actually a side yard, and
Okay.
so that's why we're asking for the increased height.
Oh, I see.
The city is calling that the front of the house.
But it's, the El Parque is the front.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand. Okay. Do my commissioners have any questions?
Yes,
on that?
Commissioner Roush.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm looking through my notes here. Maybe staff can help me. I went to the site today, and I noticed that El Parque is a vacant road and that there's no off-site improvements at all, no curb, gutter, sidewalk, or street. Is the applicant putting that in? Are you
Yes.
required to put that in?
The applicant is, our owner is putting that in there, improving the road and adding curb and gutter.
Half-street improvements on your side of the street only?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we're doing the flood control as well. We met with Public Works, and they asked if we would change flood control as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn?
Thank you. Through you, regarding item number 39, variance 71077, my motion is for approval this evening. Thank you.
Motion for approval on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that item will go forward to City Council at the September 20th, 2017 meeting.
Thank you. Related to items 40 and 41, starting with 40, SUP 71037, applicant Boulevard Medical LLC, owner GE 714 LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 4,553 square foot marijuana cultivation facility use at 714 South First Street, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. And item 41, SUP 71038, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,819 square foot marijuana production facility use, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Before we go to the staff report, forget these are the two items that I was advised by the city attorney to not vote on. We have several clients in that area, bars in that area. I don't feel that it's going to affect me any greater or lesser, but considering that I do have a lot of clients in the area, out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to go ahead and abstain on this item. And Mr. Vice Chair.
Through the chair, if I may, my family's cannabis company, the president, has informed me that they do business with the applicant in another location with cannabis, so I will also be abstaining.
Commissioner Quinn, we're going to
Thank
turn
you.
this over to you.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Quinn, I'm sorry. I also need to make a statement. I own properties at 1325 Casino Center and 201 East Utah Avenue, which are within the notification area, but I do not believe this will affect my properties to any greater or lesser effect than any other property in the notification area, so therefore I will be voting on the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 40 is SUP 71037, a special use permit. Applicant is Boulevard Medical, the LLC. Owner is GE 714 LLC. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 4,553 square foot marijuana cultivation facility use at 714 South First Street, Commercial Industrial Zone, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends this evening approval. Companion item number 41 is SUP 71038, special use permit related to SUP 71037, public hearing. Applicant is the Boulevard Medical LLC, owner GE 714 LLC, for possible action on a special use permit for a proposed 1,819 square foot medical production facility use at 714 First Street, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff also recommends approval. Staff, please.
The applicant is proposing to operate both a marijuana cultivation facility and a marijuana production facility in an existing structure that will be renovated for such purposes but not expanded. Both uses are permitted in the CM district with approval of a special use permit. Both uses meet the minimum use requirements of Title 19. Staff finds that the subject site is suitable for the proposed uses and in turn finds the uses to be harmonious and compatible with surrounding uses and therefore recommends approval of both special use permits. Note that at the present time, the Business License Division has not opened up an application period for marijuana production or cultivation licenses nor does the applicant have an active compliance permit for the proposed uses. Please note that there were additional approval and protest documents received after publication.
Thank you, staff. Good evening, applicant. Name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, Madam Chair, good evening, Commissioners. Richard Gallegos, 6725 Southeastern. Here on behalf of the applicant this evening, staff has stated their recommended approval. We do understand and concur with their recommendations and be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this project? If so, please come forward. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record. Good evening, ma'am.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Robin Camacho, 7215 Linden Avenue. I own the two properties to the north of this project. I'm going to keep it very short. It's late. I just wanted to let you know that when we invested in downtown, we invested because we bought into the vision plan that was just developed by the City of Las Vegas. And we are planning on putting in a very nice restaurant right next door with a dining patio that would butt up against a marijuana cultivation facility. We're all in when it comes to the City of Las Vegas. We bought homes downtown. We've bought businesses downtown. I just opened Neighborhood Realty downtown, and I'm going to leave it up to my expert. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners. Greg Esposito, 1442 White Drive, representing Robin Camacho and the Social Studies Gastropub. Mrs. Camacho owns 710 and 712 South 1st Street, the two properties neighboring to the north. If you take a look at the overhead here, you'll see that this is the subject parcel. I can't tell if it's up or not. This is the subject parcel, and these two properties are what Mrs. Camacho is hoping to turn into this. A very nice gastropub, high-end food, liquor, tavern usage. Our objection to this item is not based on NIMBY or reefer madness. You saw Mr. Gallegos and I were in the back chatting it up. We're friends. We've worked together on items before. We have nothing against the applicant as a person. We just feel that there is strong problems where this building fails to meet the 5 standards that a special use permit requires. All due respect to staff and their assessment, we disagree with their assessment that it meets those 5 standards. I hope that all of you had a chance to read the 5-page document that I sent you. Mr. DeSalvio wasn't able to get your email address in time. I apologize. I'll summarize it here. Hopefully I can get my points across concisely. So when I say, when there are the 5 tests, the 5 things that an application for a special use permit like this one has to meet. The first one, the proposed land use can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with existing surrounding land uses and with future surrounding land uses as projected by the general plan. So as I said, this is an existing picture. Mrs. Camacho's restaurant, the outdoor patio will be here in this area, and that is the subject parcel, the loading door for the subject parcel. Ms. Camacho purchased this property in August of 2016, and it was approved for the gastropub in January of this year, 2017. Her vision is to develop it into a neighborhood eatery, serving nearby businesses and residents with gaming and patio dining with the potential to host live entertainment. Now, yes, regulations require air filtration systems on such a use, but those systems are far from perfect. If they were, code enforcement wouldn't receive odor complaints. If you've never had a chance to tour a grow house, it's a very strong, musky skunk scent, actually even worse than when you're smoking it or when you smell it being smoked. We're very concerned that customers attempting to enjoy a meal might catch a whiff, permanently damaging business with the slightest failure of the filtration system. This is not, we're not making up that this is an issue. I was able to find 5 different articles in different locations where marijuana has been legalized, where odor has been a prime concern for neighbors. So imagine you're sitting out there and suddenly you get this skunky smell while you're trying to enjoy your meal. That's very much a turnoff, and you probably wouldn't want to return to the business. On Saturday, July 29th, a Las Vegas police officer opened fire during a morning robbery at a marijuana facility. And the intersection and several businesses nearby were closed during the investigation. Unfortunately, this incident is not unique, as crimes involving marijuana facilities are on the rise. Same page, I have dozens of unique articles, most from Las Vegas, some from other states, dispensaries, cultivation, having been targeted by thieves. So imagine you're enjoying a night out, dinner, live music, an outdoor patio, sirens, gunshots, helicopters, police tape. That's not somewhere that you'd want to go back. So we feel that it fails that first test. On the second test, the subject site is physically suitable for the type and intensity of land use proposed. Now, I'll paraphrase Chapter 6.95.120 of the Municipal Code. It says, a 24-hour surveillance system is required to monitor the exterior of a marijuana establishment. The establishment must monitor parking areas and outdoor areas of the licensed premises. Now, once again, this is to the north. You'll see that the existing building has 0 setback. This is an existing house that's going to remain and be the kitchen of the gastropub. And as the pictures zoom in, you'll see that there is a 1.5 to 2-foot gap between the two buildings, which will be virtually impossible to monitor by video. Furthermore, since there is no setback on either the north and this is the south side, how is the applicant going to monitor somebody else's property? They haven't expressed that they've received permission from the property owner to the south, and they definitely haven't received permission from us. How are they going to comply with Title or Chapter 6, which mandates monitoring of the perimeter of a marijuana facility? The alley behind the property. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The alley behind the property is majority owned by NV Energy. This is the NV Energy switchyard. This is the subject parcel right here. The majority, like 66% of the alley is actually owned by NV Energy. They have, and this vacation 9.00 blah, 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 that's their easement. They have rights to it. This fence, this is a picture of the back alley. This is the subject parcel. This is my client's parcel. This has a fence on it, a fence very clearly marked, no trespassing. NV Energy is not about to allow anybody access back there, to the extent that they actually have 5 padlocks locking it down, probably to allow different entities access. And once again, I don't think that the applicant has demonstrated that they have permission from NV Energy to access the back of their own property for security purposes, loading and unloading and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, in their own pictures, they actually had to take pictures of their own property from over the fence the same way that I did, because they weren't able to access the back of the property. The third test. Street or highway facilities providing access to the property are or will be adequate in size to meet the requirements of the proposed use. Well, as I've established, NV Energy owns over half the alley behind the building and all of the easement, and access to it is across private property. Once again, they haven't demonstrated that they've received permission from that private property owner to cross into that alleyway, which means that the only way for product to leave this building is through the front. They can't access the back. The 2 side walls are somebody else's property. The only way to access this building with product is through the front. Except in their diagram, I apologize, that's upside down, this door you see is getting blocked off. The man trap and security office will block that door off. And there's nothing in this plan that demonstrates how they're going to get this product out of this building. The only thing that is conceivable at this time is that they are literally going to pull a vehicle up to here on the sidewalk and walk it out this front door, because they can't access the back. So imagine you're having a nice meal, once again, and an armored car with, guns and uniforms come up, and here they come with these Tupperware containers full of dank weed. not somewhere that you'd probably want to visit again as far as your choice for a restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Is this about the end of your presentation?
I can go really quickly through the rest of it.
Pardon me?
I can be really quick.
Real quick, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
We appreciate it very much, but we are at a timer. Thanks.
Fourth test, approval of special use permits can't compromise the public health and safety and welfare. Public facilities. A little bit of debate about this one, but the business located at 721 First Street, right across the street, is MSC Fitness Center, owned and operated by Mac Smith, a former Raider and Ram, if I remember correctly. His business model is predominantly geared towards physical training for at-risk youth. His gym provides physical training for at-risk youth in direct conflict with Title 19. And then the biggest reason, and I'll end with this, the biggest reason against this use is your plan, Vision 2045. I read through this in preparing for this application, and there are 24 pages, statements, visions, goals of the city of Las Vegas for the next 30 years that run completely counter to this use, which will have no foot traffic. Cultivation facilities can have no pedestrians, no foot traffic. Mrs. Quinn has invested.
Mrs. Quinn, no, I'm not invested.
Mrs. Schlottman has invested.
I might show up there, but I'm not invested. Just kidding.
In this, she needs help. She doesn't need a big brick next to her that will attract no further business.
Thank you very much. We're going to hear back from the applicant and his rebuttal, and we appreciate your very in-depth presentation. And thank you, Mrs. Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. Certainly, again, we want to say that we do respect our neighbors and their comments. With respect to odor, we know that's a sensitive item. We do have on board with us the industrial hygienist who actually wrote the ordinance for the city for odor. And we will adhere to all those standards. And we'd be happy to accept a condition of review, again, because we know those things can get a little perhaps out of control. And we're in the stages still of understanding how that product works, really, to be honest with you. So, again, we would accept that. With respect to security, again, we have to comply with all the state standards, not only the city standards, but the state as well, with surveillance and et cetera. And I'm pretty sure they will not get licensed unless they meet those standards.
Right.
With respect to our easement in the back, I don't know that's true that we don't have access. I can tell you that there's not a fence between the end of this property and the easement. You can walk clearly once you get through our property to the back there. But I can't sit here today and deny what they've stated or accept it.
Well, that's a pretty big, issue, I would think.
Yeah.
But okay, well, we appreciate it very much, and this is known as a public comment and a public hearing. Is there anybody wish to speak for or against this item? I see none, so we're going to open this up to the Planning Commission. I do have just one question for Mr. Esposito. A brief answer would be nice. My question is, how many feet is the karate studio for at-risk children from the door of his marijuana proposal?
I do not, Greg Esposito, 1442 White Drive. I don't know the exact answer. The street itself is 60 feet. The sidewalks assume 20 feet each.
Right.
So I would assume somewhere in the vicinity of 100 feet, property line to property line. But it's not a karate studio, it's a weight training facility.
With kids, you said?
Yeah, well, that's what he told me his primary business model is, yes.
Because keep in mind, a place that serves liquor has to be 1,000 feet from a karate studio, so you want to double check on that, okay, for your own applicant. Thank you. I'm going to open this up tonight to Planning Commission and see what they have to ask you, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, through you. I have a question for the applicant, Mr. Gallegos. So you do not have a license yet to operate this facility?
That's my understanding, what I'm being told through staff. I was not involved in that part, so I'm trusting their position.
So wouldn't you come before us when you have a license? Or is this the cart before the horse, or is this standard procedure? I haven't dealt with marijuana distributors. That was before my time, I think, when we approved all of these, so I'm asking out of point of clarity.
Through you, Mr. or Madam Chair, We understand that we have to comply with all the current rules. We understand that this is a land use ruling today, position, and not the actual license. We understand that those conditions still have to be met, so we're asking today simply for the land use. I can tell you that I believe Mr. James is working with the council office, I'm not sure who, to work and sort those things out, because I think there was a misunderstanding when he had this item at a previous location, and then it was tabled because that location was not suitable, and there's a discrepancy on that time limit, I think, is what the issue really is.
So technically, you could take this entitlement if it was granted to you and go out and shop it, basically, because you don't necessarily have to.
No, that's certainly not Mr. James.
No, I'm saying you could shop the entitlement. You could say that you could go out into other distributors or something to. You can use this place.
That certainly I can represent. That's not the intent. Mr. James has looked at 3 locations here in the city.
And so, you know, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not in support of it. I just think that we have this restaurant going there. It looks like it's going to be very nice. We've already supported it. I think we need to do everything we can to support that business that's there. And I think that this isn't just the right type of business that's going to infringe upon that business. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roush.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several concerns. I'm going to start with the first one, access. I was at the property today. I drove it thoroughly. I tried to access the back of the proposed property by alley. It's impossible. I couldn't even get to the back areas of the pictures that you showed. It's just not, it's not something you can do. You have to drive around to Main Street. You have to go across the, I'm going to say karate. It's not karate. It's a cross-training facility. You have to go across other people's property in order to access the alley. It doesn't come out to the other end of the street. What's the street right there? I'm sorry, at the south end. No.
Gas.
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 It doesn't go through to Gas. So I had to come around Main. I had to travel over other people's property to get to the alley. I got to the alley, and there's a chain link fence, and there's no access. It's locked, and you can't get any further. So that's number one. I'm concerned about there's no place for the trucks to load in the rear. I'm concerned that the trucks loading from the front would have security issues, as was stated by Mr. Esposito. I apologize. Can you tell it's my first day? And I will keep this quick, but I am concerned that you know, it will be undesirable to the area, because cultivation, although allowed in this area, I don't think it's appropriate in this area. The city has expended considerable dollars, and I'm very familiar with downtown, so I know the various areas here. This is the north end of the Arts District. I'm sure millions of dollars were spent not that long ago on the improvements there: curb, gutter, sidewalks, enhanced sidewalks, planters, fancy streetlights, and all of this was to enhance business applications in the area. It's been slower to go than I think we'd all like to see, but I think this will inhibit that, unfortunately. I don't see a lot of businesses wanting to make an investment in the area with this type of use. I see this use associated with an industrial property. Something over on Commerce or Highland, where you had been approved before, would be more compatible. I don't find this to be a compatible or complementary use in the area. So for those reasons and more, and security concerns, and the fact that I don't think it will promote more business in the area, I am going to not be able to support your application today. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Before you make your motion, Commissioner Roush, Commissioner Toussaint wants to say something.
Thank you, Commissioner Roush, and everybody else that spoke. I agree with my fellow commissioners. I think this is the wrong place for this business. I know in California they had a sriracha plant, and they put in all these filtration systems, and what happened was the people had to actually leave the neighborhood because their eyes were watering and they couldn't breathe. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with marijuana. I don't know a whole lot about it. But I don't think you can guarantee that you will not have a problem when people are dining and sitting in an outside patio, that they're not going to smell something. So I'm inclined not to be in support of this project.
Thank you. With that, we're looking for a motion. Commissioner Roush, please, a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion for item number 40, SUP 71037, special use permit for medical marijuana and recreational marijuana cultivation facility. My motion is for denial.
A yes vote is for the denial. Thank you. That motion was approved, the denial, and that motion carries. Thank you. The next one, please.
Item number 41, SUP 71038, special use permit related to SUP 71037. My motion is for denial.
A yes vote is for the denial. Thank you. That motion carries. Good luck to you.
Thank you and good evening.
Items 40 and 41 will go forward to City Council at the September 20th, 2017 council meeting.
And just for clarification purposes, I did not invest money in either one of these businesses, as was stated on the record earlier. No, when somebody during public comment. No. No. Anyways, moving on to item number 42, SUP 70970, applicant owner David T. and Emily J. Burgraff, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a community residence with a 300-foot distance separation from a similar use where 660 feet is required at 1516 Winwood Street, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed site was unable to meet the 660-foot distance separation requirement from a similar use, resulting in the need for a special use permit. The subject site is separated from the existing community residence by an 80-foot right-of-way and would not change the character of the existing surrounding neighborhood. Staff is recommending approval of this request. Please note additional letters of protest have been received since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Nathan Taylor, 8414 West Farm Road, representing the applicant here today. We would just respectfully ask that you follow staff's recommendation for approval here tonight. I want to first thank Commissioner Creer for taking the time out of his busy schedule to meet us at the property, to walk the property, and to speak with the property owner. We did hold a voluntary neighborhood meeting. I wanted to make sure I brought that up to you. We held a voluntary neighborhood meeting where 4 residents showed up to the meeting, and there was no opposition to this project, so at this time I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion, starting with Commissioner Creer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Like Mr. Taylor said, I did go visit the site. I am in full support of this. The applicants seem like they are going to do right by this area, but I would just like to add a condition of a one-year review, just ensure that everything is going according to plan.
Is that administrative?
Administrative review, yes. And if there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion unless there's discussion.
Please do.
Thank you. Agenda item 42, SUP 70970. I go along with staff's approval with a one-year administrative review.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, that's from the date of approval. The licensing would not be an accurate thing to tie it to in this case because it's handled usually through the state licensing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, item 42 is final action unless appealed to the city clerk within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item 43, SUP 71079, applicant Paint Party Night LLC, owner Buffalo Alta Center LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,316 square foot beer wine cooler on-sale establishment use within a existing general professional service instructional art studio with a 362-foot distance separation from an existing school where 400 feet is required at 450 South Durango Drive, Suite 109, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a waiver to allow a beer, wine, cooler on-sale use within the distance separation buffer established for protected uses such as schools, individual care centers, religious facilities, and parks. The subject site is located within an existing shopping center that is located 362 feet away from an existing school, with the subject site being separated from the protected use by a 106-foot wide right-of-way and no direct access from the school to the shopping center. Staff finds the proposed use can be conducted in a harmonious manner with the surrounding area and is recommending approval of this request. Please note additional letters of protest and support have been received since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Nathan Taylor, 8414 West Farm Road, representing the applicant here today. We just ask that you follow staff's recommendation for approval. I'm here to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward, state your name for the record. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Starting with Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. Did you want to speak? Anybody else? Oh,
No.
This shopping center needs this. I mean, it's been struggling a little bit for a long time, and I look forward to the success of it. And if nobody else has anything else to say, I'll be looking forward to making the motion this evening for approval.
Please do.
Thank you. My motion for approval on SUP 71079, following all staff's recommendations at this time. Thank you.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I'd like to welcome the two new planning commissioners to the board and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that item 43 is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item 44, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless set subjects on the agenda and scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Seeing none, Commissioner Quinn?
No.
This meeting is adjourned.